The best of luck to Coach O and the Tigers. And now, BetRivers.net is proud to bring you Fighting Tiger football. Right here on Eagle 98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day is on.
Presented by your Super Chevy dealers and Home Bank. Good for business, good for life. This is LSU football.
Second down, goal to go inside the 2-yard line. Shotgun snap, Ty Davis-Price puts his head down, dives in, touchdown, Fighting Tigers. Jones calls for the snap. It's a little low, but he handles it. Here comes pressure. Hyde steps to his left, and it's intercepted at the 37-yard line. Dwight McLaughlin, near side, 15, cuts in at the 10, 5, touchdown, Fighting Tigers.
LSU football on Eagle 98.1, the flagship home of the Tigers. Tonight, from Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, it's the LSU Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, here's Matt Moscona and Jeremy Hill.
Good afternoon and welcome to Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Jeremy Hill will join me in just a moment. I'm Matt Moscona. So for the better part of 2 decades, the LSU-Alabama game has been among the top games annually in college football. CBS has chosen this game every year since 2007. That was Nick Saban's first in Tuscaloosa. And it aired in prime time 8 consecutive years on CBS. The rivalry peaked with LSU's dramatic win in 2019 and cratered a year ago with Alabama's 55-17 avalanche. And today, it is wholly irrelevant. Oh, Alabama's still Alabama, and LSU is not. LSU is a 28.5-point underdog today. To put that into perspective, when LSU hosted Central Michigan earlier this year, the Chippewas were a 19-point underdog. Basically, Central Michigan had a 30% better chance of beating LSU than LSU has of beating Alabama today. In a strange coincidence, today is the 28th anniversary of LSU's 1993 win at Alabama, the day when pigs flew. The Tigers were 21-point underdogs that day to the defending national champion. So this would be a greater upset than arguably the most improbable upset LSU has ever pulled. I can't in good conscience sell you on any advantage LSU has in this game outside of Cade York. LSU's down 8 starters on defense, and they weren't very good when they were whole. And Jake Peets has been outwitted in every single game but one. Yes, pigs have flown, and shoes have been thrown, while LSU has pulled off upsets in the past. And if the Tigers do it today, it would rank as the most unlikely yet. Even though it doesn't feel like it, it is LSU and Alabama, and we're counting you down right here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Eagle 98.1.
Very good. These guys are anxious. They're ready to play. It's LSU, Alabama. Throw all the records out. That's enough said. And they're going to be ready to go. I'm going to be ready to go. They're going to be ready to go. Tremendous challenge. A lot of respect for this football team, but we're coming.
You can throw the records out when LSU and Alabama play. Jeremy Hill joins us now here at Eagle 98.1 Game Day. How are you, man? Welcome back.
I'm doing good. Not your normal LSU Alabama, but hey, we're here.
Hey, you played in one that not many people gave you guys a shot in 2012, and that became one of the great games in the series. Unfortunately, it went the way it did at the very end. But I mean, you all were on the doorstep of pulling that upset in 2012. What is the approach in a week like this? I mean, you didn't experience this much, where you're a 4-touchdown underdog, but here we are.
Yeah, it's Alabama. This is a team that everyone in this town just has a true dislike for, and the football players has the same feeling. So obviously, you put a ton of attention. Obviously, you get that annual bye week in front of Alabama, so they get your undivided attention every time you go against those guys. And I know you come to LSU for that. You come to LSU to challenge with those guys in the SEC West every year, because if you beat those guys, you're going to set yourself up for a ton of success. After that. Okay, well, this team isn't going to win the West. And you're not setting yourself up for any success. So in a week like this, what do you actually care about if you're a player? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. What's the motivation when you go into a locker room on a Monday, you're a 4-touchdown underdog, and you just know no one's really giving you a shot. Yeah, it's really having pride. Obviously, you only get to play this team 4 times, for some of these guys, sometimes 3 times. And those losses stick forever. And so for you to pull off something like today, that'd be a great thing to put in your record book for yourself and really do something special. Obviously, they did something very similar last year against Florida. Maybe they can pull something out the rabbit out the hat today and find some success like that.
I mean, I don't know, bro. Like, you heard my open. You were sitting right here. I mean, do you have any confidence that this team can be competitive in this ballgame?
It's not looking good. I said it on Hutton Hill earlier this week. You're pulling a knife to a AK-47 fight, and that's what you're going to face today. Obviously, you got most of your starters out on defense. The offense just hasn't seemed to click like you would want for, especially an offense that averaged over 33 points a game last year. It's not what you want to see, and it's going to be a tough match. It's a daunting task for this team. It's really hard to get up for an opponent like this, especially when Alabama, they can't lose this game. They have to win this game to do the things that they want to do year in and year out. So you got Nick's undivided attention, and with the defenses that we run, as predictable as we are, it's just not looking good for us.
I mean, Bama was number 2 in the first college football playoff rankings, so I mean, they've got every goal in line for them. Is pride enough to get LSU going? The one thing is, I mean, LSU, this is the one thing that people have mentioned this week multiple times, is Florida played this Alabama team close. I mean, they were a 2-point conversion away from sending the game to overtime. And LSU beat Florida. So, I mean, maybe LSU played its best game of the season that day. They would need a similar effort tonight. Maybe something from Alabama to go awry. Kind of like in the Florida game where, they turned it over 4 times and LSU was able to take advantage. Does the comp with the Florida game, does that hold any validity there?
It's easy to say now, hindsight, that we pulled that off last year, but I
No,
can't.
I'm sorry, this year.
Oh, this year.
Yeah, no, the Florida.
Oh,
so
Florida game this
LSU
year.
beat Florida this year.
Yeah.
And dude, Florida played Bama the closest as anyone has. I mean, Florida was a 2-point conversion away from tying them, sending the game to overtime. So that's been the kind of thing. Like, well, man, look, LSU beat Florida. It's the whole transitive property thing, right? LSU beat Florida, and Florida was really close against Bama, so maybe LSU. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I never try to do football math. It's just you'd be spinning your wheels for a very long time.
Yeah.
Mississippi State beat Texas A&M, and A&M lost to Arkansas. You just be going on and on and on. But I think for us, that Florida game, I thought it was going to be, a boost of confidence for the team, especially everything going on with the head coach. I thought we found something in the running game that we could replicate throughout the season, and that kind of went away against Ole Miss, one of the worst rush defenses in the SEC. So I think for us, you got to just throw everything in the table. I would not be upset if I saw some fake punts today, and I'll be upset if I saw the trick plays come out.
Got to, man.
I would not be upset if we, did some things we normally don't do, because at this point, you got to throw caution to the wind, man. You're fighting an uphill battle today, and you really don't have all the guns that you would love to have in a matchup like this.
So we didn't get to talk last week because it was an open date, obviously. But you just brought up a good point, which is we thought that maybe LSU had found something in the running game against Florida, and the next game out obviously was Ole Miss, and it didn't go well. What did Ole Miss do? I'm asking you specifically, what did Ole Miss do to defend the counter, which everybody pointed out is what LSU did so successfully against Florida? What did Ole Miss do so well to defend that, to limit it?
Yeah, well, Florida runs a 4-man front, so it's 4 defensive linemen down on the line of scrimmage, so it's a lot easier to pin those guys down and pull around, and the backside defensive end for Florida just did a terrible job playing the run. Either you got to, really crash down and take the running back when you're unblocked, or you got to take the quarterback away. And I thought Jake Peets would, put some more play action stuff off of those counter plays. Obviously, Ole Miss runs a totally different front. They only have 3 defensive linemen down, and so what they did was let their linebackers just play the counter and shoot those gaps and do those things. But the beautiful thing about that, if you're Jake Peets and the crew, you got to put some play action stuff off of that. Got to do some RPOs off of that, and really you knew that Ole Miss knew those counter plays were coming. And as an offensive coach, you got to be thinking of the counter right away and have some stuff in that playbook ready to go, because they're going to want to stop that. They saw you rush for almost 300 yards doing it. Got to have some stuff to play action off of that.
So, and that was kind of the frustrating thing, right? It's like there didn't appear to be anything to build off of from what you saw against Florida. So what about Alabama? Is Alabama a defense that structurally looks more like what Ole Miss runs or what Florida runs?
What Florida runs. They're going to have 4 down. They'll sometimes, but that's the thing about Nick. He's multiple. Sometimes he will have those 3 down in there and give you an exotic look, and sometimes he has a 4-man front, and that's the things I like about those type of coaches. It's not going to be a predictable thing. You can know exactly what they're going to be in every 3rd down. They're going to switch it up. They're going to blitz guys. They're going to run man. They're going to do all little things that, give these college quarterback issues. So that's what I would love to see from our defense, but, we kind of just line up and cover one man and see what happens.
So what you're telling me is that Alabama has a distinct coaching advantage in this ball game today.
Yeah, I'd have to venture to say that right now.
Look, LSU is going to have a couple more opportunities to win games, get to bowl eligibility. This one is going to be tough, but we are going to see a lot of different guys play. But clearly, the bigger questions surrounding LSU right now are not what's going to happen for 60 minutes on the field in Tuscaloosa today. It's about the coaching search. It's about keeping a recruiting class together, and we're going to delve into all of that here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day. We're also going to get you caught up on scores from around college football. Wake Forest and North Carolina are playing a volleyball match. Man, they are just back and forth and back. It's 31-24 at the start of the 3rd quarter. I mean, say what you will about Wake Forest, man. They can score. If not, I mean, they can't stop nobody, but they can flat out score. And that's going to be a score fest in Chapel Hill. And Nebraska's hanging in there with Ohio State about midway through the 3rd quarter. Ohio State's up 17-10. They're about to attempt a field goal, but Nebraska's giving them a go. So we'll get you some scores from around the country. When we come back, we'll check in with Mark Heim from WNSP in Mobile, also AL.com, to look across the field, a closer look at the Alabama Crimson Tide. Shay Dixon in about 17 minutes from right now. We'll talk some recruiting with us. We're glad you're hanging out. He's Jeremy Hill. I'm Matt Moscona. It's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. But then you came along.
There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavors.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Opposing Media.
Presented by ETEL. ETEL, Louisiana's fastest internet provider.
A Saturday in Tuscaloosa, LSU and Alabama. Very different feeling this year than most. Our buddy Mark Heim, WNSP Radio, good enough to spend a couple of minutes with us. Mark, thanks as always for the time, man. How are you?
I'm great, man. How are you, Matt? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. All right, so people in Baton Rouge are obviously not very excited about this game. That goes without saying. What is the general feeling there in Alabama?
It's pretty much the same. I think some local media in the state have tried to bring up the comments Orgeron made in the past, and the whole 2019 was the first time Alabama had lost at home in however many years it's been or whatever. But at the end of the day, I mean, they see the point spread, they see the writing on the wall, and the anarchy that is LSU football right now. So I don't think people are anticipating much of a matchup here.
You know, Mark, is there anything – we'll talk about Alabama specifically here in a bit, learn a bit more about the team aside from just what we've seen outside looking in. But is there – anything about this matchup that you look at and you go, well, that part could be interesting?
No, not really. I got to be honest. I mean, you've seen this LSU team more than I have. It's just not going to work. And you know, the funny thing about this, Matt, is Alabama. I mean, I think the general consensus here is this Alabama team just isn't as good as it's been in the past, and a lot of folks, or at least I could say, I was a little surprised, not that they were number 2 in the CFP this week, but the comment was made that there was such a divide between 2 and everybody else. And whether it's fair or not, Alabama tends to get judged against Alabama. And I don't know if that's kind of an elitist thing or a pretentious type of thing, but that's just how it goes. And these days, they just, there's something missing. They're not clicking like they've done in past years. With all that said, I don't see any breakdown here at position by position where LSU has a decided advantage over Alabama.
So how did Florida manage to be in a 4-quarter game with this team?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It goes back to, there are a couple of issues, right? The most pressing from that Florida game and talking to people was the issue at middle linebacker specifically. And we were getting a lot of information about guys just kind of freelancing and not being where they're supposed to be and trying to make plays but not playing within whatever scheme they're in. And the middle of the field was just left wide open. And similar to that, against Tennessee, there were issues in the secondary. So the 4- and 5-star recruits, Matt, are still there, and there are a whole bunch of them. But I don't know if they're not committed. I don't know if they're not experienced enough. Nick Saban has talked a lot about trying to make sure that this team was focused. He's tried to get that message to his guys a lot. There's something different about this locker room. They're just not. They're not dialed in.
You got a comp for an Alabama team that going into November, was where this team is, but isn't dialed in, that maybe turn it on late?
I think you'd have to go back to one of those A.J. McCarron type deals, where they wound up going to the Sugar Bowl and losing that year when they didn't get into the postseason or the national championship picture. I think you'd have to go back pretty far. That's a testament to Nick Saban, right? The fact that he can keep these guys as dialed in as he has over the years. But at some point, when you have this turnover in starters and guys going to the NFL and guys leaving early and your coaching and your coordinators keep turning over, there's got to be a point that you take a step back, however brief or however slight. And maybe potentially this is it. With that said, I mean, here we are in November and they're number 2 in the CFP and control their destiny and all that good stuff.
Mark Heim's with us. He's on Twitter at Mark_Heim, WNSP Radio in Mobile. So let's talk a little bit about the Tide. Bryce Young obviously was a big storyline coming in, replacing Mac Jones. How's Bryce Young looked so far through 8 games?
I think for the most part, people are pleased. Early on, there was a lot of talk that he won't run, right? I mean, it was either he's got his eyes downfield and he's constantly trying to extend a play, but he's not willing to run till he's just not a running quarterback. And then what you saw in the last couple of weeks, it's almost like he's making a conscious effort to run. So when he runs, Matt, it's not just taking what the defense gives him. He's making guys miss now. I mean, he almost looks like Jalen Hurts out there kind of running around. So from that perspective, I think people are thrilled. Now, with that, and we're nitpicking again here, I mean, like it's thin. I mean, it's a Matt Moscona hair thin, right? What we're talking about now is he's missing on throws.
Bro. What is that?
He's missing on some throws that Alabama fans consider routine now. But you look at the quarterbacks that have come through this system, right? So there were a couple of passes where he had an open receiver where he just kind of missed. And so I don't know if he's been as sharp late in the season as he's been early in the season, but he's kind of made up for that with that ability to run. And so overall, I mean, certainly you'd give him an A. He's still a Heisman contender and all that kind of stuff. But again, it's another young guy, and at Alabama, you put so much pressure on these guys to not only start, but to start so early in their careers. But I think he's developed, and I think he's got a pretty good grasp of what they're trying to do. They're not as explosive as they were a year ago, obviously, but they certainly got the weapons to be.
They're not as explosive, yet they're averaging 46 points a game. It's such an Alabama problem, man. Let's talk about some of the playmakers. Brian Robinson's there. He'll rush for 1,000 yards this year. Maybe not the biggest name there among receivers. What's the players that we need to look out for on Saturday?
Well, Brian Robinson's one of the. I think one of my colleagues over at AL.com figured out. I think he was like one of 19 players who will be on the field or on the sideline or whatever Saturday who was on the roster when 2 years ago in 19 when LSU came to town last. So he's one of those guys that remembers Orgeron's comments and he's made mention of that and he felt disrespected and all that. So he really came out and played good ball all year. He's real tough. He's had to carry a lot more of the load because of some injuries at running back throughout the course of the year, but he's just been incredibly dynamic. He's just the latest in a long line of great running backs. When you look at receiver, everybody kind of thought John Mechie was going to be the next guy up, right? Devontae Smith's gone, Ruggs to the NFL. You go through the list of guys. But Mechie, he hasn't really been that guy. He hasn't been bad, but he just hasn't stood out. The Ohio State transfer, Jameson Williams, I mean, he's been unbelievable. And of course, they're just loaded at tight end. So when they feature that tight end, they're just such a mismatch for defenders. Just big, strong, athletic basketball type guys. So again, they have weapons, and I guess again we're nitpicking, right, Matt, because it just doesn't feel like it's clicking on all cylinders. But those are some of the guys I would keep an eye on.
Mark, any weakness on the offensive side?
No, I mean, unless you're talking about facing Georgia and a defense of that caliber,
right.
We haven't seen it. I think they've had some penalties early in the season where they were getting behind the chains early. I mean, the weaknesses are self-inflicted, right? Against Tennessee, they only had 4 penalties. It was the fewest all season, but they dropped 3 balls. They lost a fumble, and they got a punt block, right? And then all the defensively, the TDs that Tennessee had were all because of mistakes by Alabama. So again, they're not any weaknesses per se, but anytime these self-inflicted wounds come up and they come up in batches, I mean, it's concerning to a lot of folks.
He's on Twitter at Mark_Heim, WNSP Radio in Mobile, AL.com. Let's flip it over, Mark. Talk about the defensive side of the ball. The pass rush gets a ton of attention. I'll ask the same question on the defensive side that I just asked offensively. Any weaknesses on that side of the ball?
Well, I just got finished talking about the secondary. The secondary just left people baffled after the whole Tennessee thing, right? So there's some young guys, some very talented guys back there, but they're all incredibly young. You look at a guy like Jalen Armour Davis. He got tested against Florida. We talked about him. We talked about Florida earlier in the segment. I think they went after him like 4 times. They got a completion. He got a pick. He got an interception in the last game. He's really come along. Kool-Aid McKinstry is a real dynamic guy, but again, a freshman. Brian Branch played some safety for a while. They're just not. They don't have those NFL type caliber guys that we're used to seeing back there. That's not to say they won't wind up being there at some point. They're just incredibly young, Matt. Josh Jobe was targeted like 9 times against Mississippi State, got 4 completions. So if that front 7 can't get a pressure, and look, they've had some difficulty getting the quarterbacks with just a 4-man front, right? They've had to bring a 5th guy and bring pressure. If they can't do that, and you leave those cornerbacks out there too long, they're susceptible to big plays.
A couple more minutes here with Mark Heim. You mentioned the front 7. We know about the pass rush, but what about the rest of that defensive front 7? Where are they good? Where are they weak?
Yeah, so I think people love Henry To'oTo'o, the kid from Tennessee. Christian Harris played in there, and those linebackers are incredibly athletic. But again, how much of a grasp do they have? Do they have that kind of middle linebacker leader calling out all the signals and making sure everybody's on the right page? Clearly, in the last couple games, specifically against Tennessee, they looked confused. They weren't in the right sets. They gave up big plays. With that said, it's still a very good defense. I think they're good. They're not great. I don't know if they're championship caliber without the explosiveness that you have on this offense. What I'm saying is if that offense is struggling, could this defense continue to get them win after win after win? The answer is probably not, but the schedule lines up here in the next few weeks that it's certainly doable.
Mark, before you go, special teams, kicking game, Nick and them kickers are always a storyline, man. How are they in special teams this year?
Yeah, the last couple of seasons, we've actually we haven't had a chance to really nitpick on the old special teams. Kicking-wise, I think they've actually been pretty solid. There was a stint there during Nick Saban's tenure where people were asking, he's getting these 5-star recruits, why can't he recruit a kicker? Over the last couple of years, they've been pretty solid in special teams. But anytime they're kicking a field goal, it's considered a failure by Alabama fans, and there's always that sense of kind of holding your breath. But overall, with the exception of giving up the special teams touchdown against Texas A&M, the special teams has been solid. Nick Saban's always believed in playing some of his better players on special teams. He continues to do that. And so, look, as much as you and I would like for this game this Saturday to be a storyline, I mean, the fact that CBS didn't carry this for the first time in umpteen years tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah. I was going to ask, I was going to ask Mark, if there is a blueprint for LSU to pull an upset, what is it? But it feels like your answer might be, the plague or something like that, hitting Alabama. I don't know.
look. I mean, you know that LSU locker room better than I do. I mean, if they come out and just say,
that's the
"Screw it,
problem.
let's
Yeah.
just go play, and they just let it all loose and go. I just don't know how long you can continue that week after week after week, knowing that you got a lame duck at coach.
Yeah.
I wish I had something more for you, Matt. It just I'd be making something up, man.
I know. I feel the same way. I felt the same way all week, Mark. It's Thursday. This is the most detail we've gone into this LSU-Alabama game in now the fourth day of this week. So it tells you where things are.
I gotta be honest with you. It's pretty much it's been pretty similar on our show, to be honest with you, over here in Alabama. We haven't spent a whole lot of time on it.
Who dat?
Exactly.
Mark Heim from WNSP Radio and AL.com. Always appreciate it, Mark. Thanks for a couple of minutes, man.
Hey, man, enjoy the weekend. Thanks.
Our topic today is about savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
It is not too late. You can enroll today at ITI. Winter classes start November 17th. Our industry-driven curriculum will put you on a new career on a fast track. Enroll today for a better life.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Rafino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law office of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Recruiting with Shay Dixon of 247 Sports. Presented by AccuTemp. AccuTemp, your AC and electrical experts.
Appreciate Shay Dixon for joining us. Go 247 every Saturday here in Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Take a look at the Cruton and what's going on. Shay, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me as always.
Always our pleasure. So LSU goes on the road. Let's look at what today's opportunity is for LSU as far as playing this game in Tuscaloosa. Any recruits that'll be there that LSU might be interested in, even if they're on Bama visits?
Yeah, well, they've got one guy on an official visit this weekend in Kendrick Law, who is out of Captain Shreve in Shreveport, and he's uncommitted. So he's been kind of heavy on LSU, Bama. Florida State's been in the mix there, but he hasn't used his LSU official visit yet, and they're not really doing any official visits right now, obviously. So a lot of these guys are going to be taking trips to other schools and getting their visits in for, places like Alabama. So that's the only, I think they have like 7 or 8 official visitors, and he's probably the only one who LSU's really been involved with this recruiting cycle. But they will have a couple of other Louisiana guys up there, guys who are not committed. So, like, for instance, Shaz Preston out of St. James is the state's top-ranked receiver. He's been on LSU's board forever. He'll be up there on an unofficial visit. So honestly, it's not a ton. They haven't gone kind of toe-to-toe with Bama this year on a lot of players, but you can see right now that Saban and his staff are ramping their efforts up in Louisiana, and they've kind of been setting the tone on that really since the summer. And now I think they kind of have the blood in the water feel to where they're circling on a number of guys. So it'll maintain, remain paramount, and which is something I've said all along, and I think it's understood. But when you've got an early signing period, when you've got the transfer portal, what it is right now, the December signing day, which is the early signing period, we're 3 to 4 years into that now, is paramount and important as ever. So they're going to have to find a way, in my opinion, to get this new coach in by soon after the season. I would guess a hire, you would hope Scott Woodward would announce one within a week of the regular season ending, because I think right now we're at 41 days, 40, 41, 42. I can't remember. I counted it the other day. Just can't remember which day that was. But you get the point. We're not far from signing day. In 40 days, 80% of the kids in the country will be signed. We'll see how many of the Louisiana kids do it then and who else waits. But you would really like to have a coach named after that first week of the season, so you can have not only recruiting start up, but official visits on SEC Championship weekend and the weekend after that before it goes to a dead period.
Shay, could you run through the news of the week, which was the amount of prospects that are currently committed to LSU that went public to confirm that they are still solid even amid the coaching change?
Yeah, that was kind of big news this week. We haven't heard right when, and LSU had 15 commitments when it was announced that O would not, remain the coach beyond the end of the season. And one decommitment in Aaron Anderson out of Edna Carr. We talked about him on the show, but I don't know if that actually happened in the past 2 weeks. I guess I would have to think it did. But if we didn't talk about it, then he's a kid out of Edna Carr. But even before the news of O broke, he had said, I'm 50-50 on LSU Bama, even though he was committed to LSU and he had taken visits to Tuscaloosa. So it was already understood that, hey, this kid's probably, at risk of flipping on you or picking Bama in the end. So whenever the news broke, I think it was within a day that he announced he was no longer committed to LSU. And then really within a week, I think it was, that he committed to Bama. But from there, the 14 guys have all stayed committed. And I think that you look this week, we heard most of them say, look, I'm talking things over with my parents. I don't really want to say anything on record right now that I might have to backtrack on. I committed to LSU for more than just the head coach, but I'll explore my options as backup plans, and then we'll see what happens when they name a coach. And this week, I think I counted 7, 8 of the kids in the class all tweeted out pretty much the exact same thing, which was strong or committed, something like that, with an LSU emoji, and all of them put it on their Twitter. And I had talked to a couple of the guys, and they said, look, we're in position group chats. All of the O linemen tweeted it out. They said we're in a bigger group chat, text messages with all the commits. And a lot of us were just saying, hey, look, let's put it out there for the fans. Let's put it out there to let coaches at other schools know that we're locking in, that it's not going to be easy to come get us. Look, when you don't have a head coach and you're going through this month where things are going to be rocky, you'll take all the kind of good news you can get with that. And that included guys like 5-star offensive tackle Will Campbell, who certainly is considered one of the most important pieces in the class.
A guy Tiger fans didn't get a solid or strong tweet from is Walker Howard. I'm hearing he's starting to take visits. Should there be cause for concern there?
That's the big one, right, Jeremy, the 5-star quarterback. And I say it all the time that Louisiana doesn't often produce, 5-star quarterbacks. They don't often produce 5-star offensive linemen. And in this cycle, you've got 2 of them. So it becomes, a really big point of focus for you at the top to get those guys in. And they got them both committed early. And now you're in a spot where, like you said, Campbell's put out, hey, I'm solid. I'm not going to be looking around. He was actually about to take a TCU visit. And then they had their coaching change. So I think he said, look, I'm buckled in. But Walker Howard has not said anything publicly yet. And we've kept up with his dad, Jamie, a bunch. Obviously, his dad played here. They live in Lafayette. They're about as LSU as it can get in terms of how Walker was raised. And And look, Walker has said it before. He committed to LSU because he wants to go there. Now, the fact that the staff is shaken up, he'll have to wait and see who the new head coach is and what it all means in terms of, does that head coach bring a transfer quarterback with him? Does that head coach have a quarterback commit that then flips into LSU's class? And you just kind of don't know where things stand right there now. But Walker Howard was up at Notre Dame. There was some buzz around a potential Ole Miss visit. It doesn't look like he made it this weekend, but maybe next weekend. So I think he's just lining up backup options, though. But I will say, and this is noteworthy too, everyone kind of thought he'd be out for the year with a season-ending injury, but he actually played last night in a shootout game that he ended up winning, threw for a bunch of yards, bunch of touchdowns, and got the win. And then notably, a number of news stations were there, and after the game, they were putting out video and pictures, and there's Will Campbell decked out in full LSU gear down at Walker Howard's game, hanging out and watching him get back on the field. So you get the sense that even though Walker is kind of being quiet with things and trying to stay out of the spotlight, that all of the guys like Campbell and his buddies who are in the class and who he's been close with the whole time are kind of pushing him to say, hey, look, let's stick this out. And remember, Walker Howard's best friend is Jack Besh, who has been the most productive receiver on the team among the freshmen this year. So I think there's just a lot of things still pointing to Howard and LSU, and why fans probably shouldn't need to worry about it too much right now.
Let's talk a worst case scenario here. Let's say Walker does decide to, take his talent elsewhere. Are there any more, elite quarterbacks in Louisiana, or where do you think LSU would look towards to try to find out to fill that position?
Yeah, that's kind of the scary proposition of what happens if he goes elsewhere. But I think that the only way you can come up with a situation where he ends up somewhere else is if, as I noted, like if you hire a new coach, I'll make this up for the fun of it all, is that you hire Lincoln Riley. He's bringing Caleb Williams or some 5-star with him. Well, then what's a kid like Walker Howard supposed to say of, oh, well, then, he's already got his guy. I'm not going to be on the level playing field with who he's already been with, or maybe a commitment they've already had. So quarterback's just unique like that. You only play one of them. So those guys got to be smart. We saw it with Miles Brennan saying, hey, look, I'm getting in the transfer portal now. I didn't want it to be public news. I wanted to wait it out with my team. But the more kids that go into the portal, the quicker that with quarterbacks, they're able to talk to these coaches and lock up their spot. And it sort of pushes things even faster along the track for quarterbacks. So I think Walker's just taken a cautious approach. But if for some reason he's not in the class, it's probably because whoever they hired either brought their quarterback commit or was open about maybe being, active in the transfer portal. But right now, I think that he's pretty solid.
Jay, what is the staff doing right now, and is it plausible to think that they might actually land commits before a new staff comes in?
Right now, I hope they're prepping for the game. I would
not literally in this moment, in the context of recruiting, Shay. That is such a me thing to do, by the way. You just me.
That's why I gave it to you. I don't think they're going to get any. They haven't gotten a new commitment since July. So we didn't see anybody commit in August, September, October, certainly. And now I think these kids are going to wait it out. There's no kids who have said, hey, look, I'm deciding on this date, and it's in November before you're hiring a coach. And you start with Louisiana right there, and you look around at the guys they've offered, and there's still 8-9 guys that they've offered who are not committed in the state, but those guys have said, some of them are going to December. Others said, hey, I'll probably wait it out till February. So you've got some wiggle room. I would expect no more commitments. I don't think I'll even expect any decommitments over the next month. I think everybody, you're in a spot now with these 14 that all of them know the situation now. They understand that they can use these few weeks to look around at other schools. But my guess is, just from looking up and down the commitment list and knowing a lot of these kids and where they stand, is that the class will stay at 14 probably until they announce a new coach.
He's on Twitter at Shea Dixon. Go 247. Best recruiting news. If you need it, get it there. We appreciate it, Shea. Thanks, man.
All right, Jeremy, Matt, thanks a lot. I enjoyed it. I'll see y'all next week.
All right, bud. Be well. It's Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by Home Bank and your Super Chevy dealers. It's just a very, it's an odd situation right now. I understand you've got guys committed. You got guys who might commit, but until you know who the coach is going to be, I can certainly understand everybody waiting until they pull that final trigger. But there's something to be said also for, you could probably speak to this, but for want to save your spot, to know that you have a spot in this class. It's kind of a little bird in hand thing,
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that's what a lot of these kids know, especially in their position groups. If you're the guy, if you're Will Campbell, why would you
Yeah.
go? So you have a great chance to start as a freshman in the SEC, and I think a lot of these kids see that, especially with the positions of needs that we have, and probably guys that are going to transfer and guys that are probably going to go on to the NFL. So I think a lot of these kids they've wanted to play for LSU their whole life. It doesn't really matter for some of them; that's their dream to do. So a lot of them you just have for having the purple and gold, you're good to go.
LSU and Alabama later today from Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. We will continue on Eagle 98.1 Game Day with other games going on around college football. We can just check on the scoreboard next here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram are now open for business and are ready to serve our customers with disaster relief employee pricing off I-10 in LaPlace. If you need sales, service, or fleet, the crews at Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram are going to do right by you. Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor.
Eagle 98.1, the Ralph's Market College Football Scoreboard. Ralph's Market, where quality and customer service are a family tradition.
All right, starting the top 25, top-ranked Georgia, no issues with Missouri and Athens. It's 40-3. 12 minutes to play in the ball game. Well, Stetson Bennett, forgive me, Connor Bazelak, the quarterback from Missouri, was a scratch in this game. So it wasn't a fair fight to begin with. And then Missouri's going in there with a backup quarterback. Dog, this wasn't going to go well, man.
40-point spread for an SEC game, huh? It looks like they were right on the money with that one. That's just a bad battle for Missouri. Obviously, they love Beatty. It's a bad week for Beatty to get going, man. Big Jordan Davis in the middle, probably not liking too much of that run game. Fifth-ranked
Ohio State, they're on the road in Lincoln, Nebraska, and Nebraska has just gone into the end zone. PAT pending, and if they make it, and they do, it's 23-17, Ohio State up a touchdown on Nebraska with a long way to go in that one. There was a minute left to go in the third quarter. Adrian Martinez hit a big play. We've seen C.J. Stroud have a big day, but it's turnovers and big plays that have kept Nebraska in this ball game.
Yeah, I would not expect that at all. I thought Ohio State was rolling and flying high, and really, I thought this was a game they could win by double digits, and they probably still can. They probably still can, but they're play away from Nebraska really, doing something special at home. So they're kicking into gear pretty soon here.
It's a track meet in Chapel Hill. 9th ranked and undefeated Wake Forest, 45-34 on top of North Carolina. Still 4 minutes to play in the third. Nobody can stop anybody in that ball game. Sam Hartman's already thrown for 311 and 4 touchdowns. At this point, he's a legitimate Heisman candidate. He's got Wake Forest undefeated. They're in the top 10. He's putting up bonker stats. I mean, if he can keep this up for 4 more weeks, he's going to be in New York.
Yeah, he definitely will. And looking at Wake Forest's remaining schedule, it isn't that special, man. The ACC is really down this year, and they have a really chance to go to the ACC championship and make some noise here. And crazy to say, Wake Forest, but they're doing it right now. They're scoring a ton of points, and maybe they do it in a weak ACC this year.
If they outlast North Carolina, they're home next week against NC State. They're at Clemson and at Boston College. And look, the thing about Clemson is that certainly looks formidable, but Clemson can't score. Mm-hmm. Wake, they can't stop nobody, but Wake can score. I mean, they're a legitimate threat to finish the season undefeated and go to the ACC championship game.
Yeah, Clemson's got to have a lot of pressure. Venables got to have to call up a game because it just seems like for whatever reason, Clemson's offense has just been terrible this year, and DJ hasn't really been, playing to his level with his Dr. Pepper commercials and stuff. So they got to figure something out over there.
Ole Miss led Liberty 24-0 at half, but right now with 6 minutes to play in the ball game, it's the Rebs 27-14. Of course, Hugh Freeze back in Oxford for the first time since being fired. Malik Willis has played well. That offense from Liberty's got going a little bit there in the second half, but it looks like the Rebs are going to be able to hang on.
Yeah, just too much for Liberty. Lane just went for it on 4th down again, fake punted it.
Of course he did.
Yeah, of course
Is this a day that ends in Y?
Yeah, why not? It's just a tough battle for Liberty. Obviously, there's a huge spotlight for Malik Willis to kind of, make some national pub, make some name for himself. He's been running it well, but just not quite enough to get over the hump right now in that game.
20th ranked Minnesota finally gets on the board with 4:49 to play in the ball game. They're trailing Illinois now 14-6 with the PT pending, but old Bert Bielema is got Illinois at least playing competitive football. That game's up in Minneapolis. See if the Gophers can rally. 25th ranked Pittsburgh is in Durham, and they're beating Duke 44-22. Duke led that game early in the first quarter, but a big second quarter from Pitt, and they've got a little distance there. How about starting at 2:30? We're running through the rest of the top 25, some big ones. 3rd-ranked Michigan State on the road at Purdue. I called Purdue to win this game. Similar spot when Purdue beat Penn State earlier this year. Remember, Penn State had the big game against Iowa. Then they went to West Lafayette, and Purdue clipped them. I think it's the same thing here. Michigan State, big win last week against Michigan. I think they go to West Lafayette. Brom and that crew, I think they get it done and take Purdue to beat Michigan State. What do you think?
Ooh, that's a tough one, man. I don't know.
Money line, brother. Money line play.
Okay. I could see that, but I think Kenneth Walker, he's running the crap out of that ball, and that's a great thing to have, especially in a road environment. So I'm going to take Mel Tucker and the crew in that one, man. Right. It's going to be a good game, though. It could be a huge emotional letdown game, but I got Kenneth. I like the way he's running the ball right now.
6th-ranked Cincinnati is at home against Tulsa at 2:30. Notre Dame takes on Navy as a 3-touchdown favorite. A couple of good ones in the 2:30 window in the Big 12. 11th-ranked Oklahoma State is at West Virginia, which has typically been a tough place to play. You know, West Virginia offense with Jarrett Doege slinging it around. It's always pretty formidable. And then 12th-ranked Baylor is on the road against TCU. So the 11th and 12th-ranked teams in the country are Big 12 teams, road Big 12 games against unranked Big 12 teams. But remember, Okie State, Baylor, both 7-1 on the season. They're going to get their chances against Oklahoma as well. So you could argue that those teams, along with Oklahoma, they control their destiny in the Big 12 and maybe into the playoff if you end up as a 12-1 Big 12 champion to make a pretty significant case to be in that game.
Yeah. If any of these teams end up, 12-1, and obviously having Oklahoma win over their belt, an undefeated team, that's gonna make it an easy case for the committee to kind of throw them in there and get washed by Georgia. So, yeah, I could see it happening. The Big 12 that gap is just so big between Georgia and Alabama and everyone else. So, I mean, it'd be fun to watch, but I think it's going to get ugly for them.
Auburn and Texas A&M is the 2:30 CBS game from Kyle Field. The Aggies a 4.5-point favorite. BYU is at home against Iowa State, 15th ranked BYU. The 21st ranked Badgers are on the road. They play Rutgers today in Piscataway. In the SEC at 3 p.m., Mississippi State on the road at Arkansas. State off their big win over Kentucky last week. Now on the road against Arkansas, which had an open date and a win over Pine Bluff, trying to get back on track. North Carolina State ranked 19th. They are in Tallahassee against Florida State. Another good win in the SEC at night. Tennessee, Kentucky, a virtual coin flip. I mean, this is a 1-point line, Tennessee favorite. Do you have a lean that way?
Yeah, I took Kentucky because they're at home, and this is kind of, that's going to be a big one. That people are going to stop showing up to Kroger Field once Kentucky basketball gets rolling next week. So they got to keep some buzz there. I think it's a great spot for them to get their run game going with Rodriguez and the crew. And Levis hasn't been playing well, so getting their run game going is going to have to be huge.
I picked Tennessee. You and I are going to be at odds all throughout this day. I think Tennessee in that offense a little too wide open. Heupel's found something with Hendon Hooker. Like, they are a really good offense with Hendon Hooker piloting that ship. They don't play a ton of defense, but I don't know that Kentucky can score a bunch. So that's going to be contrasting styles. It makes interesting fights. In the Big Ten, number 22 Iowa is at Northwestern. Boise State is on the road at 23rd ranked Fresno State. That's also a 6 o'clock kickoff. Tonight, ABC, the night game, 4th-ranked Oregon. Surprised a lot of people that they were 4th ranked in the playoff. They're on the road at Washington. Oregon is a touchdown favorite in that ball game. Interestingly enough, if Washington wins out, they're going to win their division in the Pac-12. They had the early bumps against Montana State, and they lost a close game to Michigan. But if they get on track here, Washington has a chance to make some noise in the Pac-12 down the stretch.
Yeah, just an ugly loss from Oregon to Stanford early in the year. Just didn't expect that, and it kind of opened the door for some of these other teams to make some runs. So they can't have any slip-ups if they want to continue to have that rank. That was a huge win at Ohio State, probably one of the bigger wins on the road for any team that I can think of.
I mean, dude, that's the reason they're in the playoff right now, right? Yeah. I mean, that's that and the A&M win over Bama are the two biggest wins in college football. I mean, that's probably safe to say. You agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Especially just going into those games, you thought they was set up for Alabama to do what they do, especially with the way Texas A&M was playing at the time, and the same goes for Oregon. That was just a huge win for Cristobal and the crew to go to the Big Shoe and get that win. So they're going to hang on to that. They really don't have to have any more impressive wins to for the rest of the season. They don't have to beat anyone crazy in the Pac-12 championship. They win this thing out with that Ohio State win, they'll be right there.
They're not going to have a chance for any more impressive wins because the Pac-12 stinks. I think outside Oregon, no one in the Pac-12 has fewer than 3 losses. So, you're talking about a brutal conference. I mean, there isn't going to be much more to put on the resume for Oregon. They're going to have to live off that Ohio State win if they get there. Indiana is in the Big House against 7th-ranked Michigan, 7-1, coming off, of course, their first loss of the season. And then 24th-ranked San Diego State. Little nightcap football out on the island. San Diego State, they are at Hawaii for a 10 o'clock Central kickoff. All right, it's Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Matt, Jeremy, Moose, and Taylor, we're here with you, presented by Home Bank Super Chevy Dealers. The Otter's going to join us next before this 2:30 slate of games. What are we betting on? We'll find out what the Otter likes. Jimmy Ott joins us next on Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
And our topic today is about savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
It is not too late. You can enroll today at ITI. Winter classes start November 17th. Our industry-driven curriculum will put you on a new career on a fast track. Enroll today for a better life.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Rufino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Otter Locks. Presented by First South Farm Credit. First South Farm Credit. Financing farms and land since 1916. Now, here's Jimmy Ott.
I'm glad to have you back with us here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day. We are about 30 minutes away from the start of the afternoon slate of games. A lot of good games going on right now. We're trying to connect with Jimmy Ott for a little Otter Locks for that afternoon slate. There are a lot of good games in that 2:30 window today, so we're going to keep an eye on all of them, probably headlined by that Michigan State and Purdue game, and then Texas A&M taking on Auburn there at Kyle Field. Those are probably the ones that most are going to be super interested here in the 2:30 window. And it's all kind of about moving. Well, I guess we got a minute here as we try to connect with Jimmy. We could get some thoughts on the first college football playoff rankings with Georgia 1, Bama 2, Michigan State 3, and then Oregon 4. Nationally, a lot of the conversation was around Cincinnati, but what was the biggest, or was there a big surprise to you?
Big surprise. Cincinnati at 6. I think that's a little high for their schedule, but I guess seeing how Notre Dame plays, I don't think Notre Dame has a signature win, so I'm trying to figure out why are they so high up there as well. So I think as Notre Dame shows themselves, I don't think their strength of schedule isn't too much anyway, but I still think they slip up again, and I think you'll see Cincinnati bump down, and I think the committee's sticking to their guns of what they've always said. They want to put the best 4 teams in there. Obviously, Power 5 has a ton to do with that, but Alabama sitting at 1 loss at 2 just goes to show, man, they feel like, well, that's the second best team in the country. I think if there was a big surprise. So I thought they'd have Cincinnati in just because there's a lot of pressure. You know how I'm a college football elitist. I don't want Cincinnati near the playoff. Like, play somebody. You don't get to play. You don't get to go. You don't get to bat 1,000 from the layup line and then deserve a trophy. No. Like, step back and shoot some threes here. So I'm all for Cincinnati being where they are, and I actually do think that was a great show of respect for Cincinnati that they were as high as they are, considering they've played a whole lot of nobody. They're ahead of undefeated Oklahoma and undefeated Wake Forest, 2 Power 5 teams. So the committee did give a little bit of a hat tip to Cincinnati ahead of those undefeated Power 5 teams. The thing that surprised me was Alabama at number 2. I think we all know what Alabama is, but your resume, what you do on the field, has to matter as well. And it can't just be eye test opinion. Look, we all think Alabama could beat anybody in the country on a neutral field or on the moon, and maybe they can. But you still have to play games, and you can't nullify the results. And they lost to Texas A&M, and you still have a couple of undefeated Power 5 teams out there. So that's where I would look and say I expected Alabama to be in. I didn't think they'd be 2. So I was a little surprised by that. But one thing we've learned enough doing this enough over the years is that you just keep playing football. Because as you go throughout November, you're going to have upsets. There's always upsets. And it'll keep rolling on. Yeah, most definitely. I think those upsets, so they definitely happen. It's a long season, and obviously you've seen the way the injury bug has hit this LSU team. That's going to play a factor in it, and obviously some of these teams, they really haven't really played anyone tough. I think the Big Ten is you're going to see a lot of teams beating up on each other. A lot of those teams are still undefeated and playing well. Obviously Michigan State probably the one that I'm talking about. So we'll find out a lot of stuff about some of these teams as this home stretch comes through with the season.
Michigan State is a 2:30 game here against Purdue. And I think Purdue is going to beat Michigan State. And we're going to see how that plays out today. It may actually make Scott Woodward's job easier. All right, Jimmy Ott joins us now for a little Otter Locks. Otter, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. Breeders' Cup action, just watching 9 games and betting some horses, not bad.
Not a bad little Saturday. All right, I looked at your list. You and I have agreement. I like Purdue not only to cover but to win the game outright. Jeremy disagrees. He likes Michigan State. Tell us what you like about Purdue.
The rankings came out, and so I compared it to the point spread values in Las Vegas. Obviously, Michigan State number 3 in the rankings, but they are not even in the top 15 in the Vegas power ratings. For instance, if they play Michigan again today on a neutral field, Michigan would be a 5-point favorite. So we know about the emotional aspect of it coming off. I think Bell's going to have a monster day. Michigan State's pass defense is really, really weak. And let's face it, they caught some breaks last week in the win. Give them credit. Walker was outstanding. He went from 18-1 for Heisman to be the favorite at plus 150. But the call before half was a touchdown for Michigan. And, they outgained about 140 yards.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot. Also, last week, unranked teams favored over ranked teams, 3-0 against the spread. I'm taking up Purdue in this spot.
So what's making you like KJ Jefferson and the crew against Hot Will Rogers today?
I've seen Briles, do it with 2 different quarterbacks. I saw Felipe Franks before Kendall Briles got a handle of him. I saw a lot of improvement. I saw KJ Jefferson come in relief a little bit latter part of the season, including the Alabama game. He is so much better. Kendall Briles is not just a really good play caller, but he has developed. This is 2 years, 2 different quarterbacks that he's made much better. I like Arkansas at home. State's better than I expected this year, but they still have losses to Memphis and LSU. So I like Arkansas at home in this spot. Look, I had the loser when I liked Arkansas against Auburn in this spot, but I think Arkansas is the better team with a short number at home. I'm taking the Hogs.
Speaking of Auburn, they're on the road in College Station here in about 24 minutes. You like the Aggies minus the 4.5?
Yeah. Spot situation again. I thought it was a great spot for Auburn last week, coming off of a bye and having, in Ole Miss playing their fifth tough game in a 29-day period. Same kind of thing here. I know Bo Nix played really well on the road against Arkansas, played okay against LSU, made enough plays in Baton Rouge. But I'm going to take A&M in the short number at home. The road teams, minus Alabama and Georgia, the road to kind of the middle of the pack, or all of the ones in between, not counting South Carolina, not counting Vandy, have really struggled on the road this year. And we know about the crowds have been great. Expect a big crowd at A&M tonight. I like A&M minus the short number.
Penn State struggling lately. You liking them today?
Yeah, I do. I thought it was a good effort. They were very much in the game at Ohio State last week. They were looking ahead. We talk about spots in college football all the time. That was a tough spot for them against Illinois, and it was no fluke. They gave up over 357 yards rushing to Illinois, and Ohio State had less than 200 rushing against them. So I think Penn State's actually pretty good. Here's another thing. Penn State I don't think they're in the top 25 in the new rankings. It's not their way down the line. They're still a top 10 team in point spread value in Las Vegas. So they outmatch Maryland, personnel-wise. I know it's on the road. Don't like playing too many road teams, but I think Penn State's pretty good. The one thing, Clifford is really good, but when he's pressured, and I know pressure affects all quarterbacks, but he really made some poor decisions when pressured. Not nearly the defensive team that Maryland has compared to Ohio State. I think they need a win. They've lost 3 in a row. They need a win. I like them minus 9.5 at College Park.
I'm looking at Michigan laying 20.5 here at home against Indiana. You like the Wolverines in a bounce back spot?
I like Michigan. I mean, when is the last time we've seen a Michigan quarterback throw for 380 yards? I mean, I know I mentioned Michigan State's pass defense is weak. That's part of it. But, I mean, the kid Van Dyke at Miami, and I'm drawn by McNamara for Michigan, these guys, I mean, we're not used to having really good passers. Not just these RPO guys, but pocket passers who can throw the ball. And I like Michigan to bounce back and destroy Indiana, who's had a major – it's more the outlier. You know, whether it's Liberty, whether it's San Jose State, whether it's Indiana. What happened last year is more the outlier for that highly unusual season last year.
Mr. Carson Strong, you liking Nevada today as well?
That's my boy, man. That is my boy. I love Dubs, the wide receiver as well. And, man, and Strong's going to be drafted fairly high. So, as I just mentioned, San Jose State, they won the league last year. They were one of the best stories in college football last year, but they're just not the same. Check, it's a late game. Storkel is a game time decision. Even with him or without him, Nevada taking care of business at home, laying 10 points.
Let's see. The other two you like, the late game with Fresno on the island against Hawaii, and then Louisville also.
Second straight road game for Boise State. They fell behind 13-0 in Fort Collins against Colorado State last week, and then won the game and covered. Fresno State's way better than Colorado State. Once upon a time, this was the big dog in the Mountain West Conference of the WAC at that time. And then Boise took over and dominated the series. Now Fresno is the better team. Boise's got some of that branding where you get the short number here. I like Fresno State. I love their quarterback. I like them minus the 5.
And then you like Louisville at home as a 3.5-point dog to Clemson? Just the whole story about Clemson can't score?
Well, it took a 40 yards of lateral and backwards for them to cover by half a point for the first time this year.
Bro, that was so brutal. I mean, that was so brutal last week.
Yes, I was right here watching it go down the tubes. You know, I mean,
I was standing in my bathroom about to get in the shower, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me that is happening right now." The game is not over. I'm like, wait, no, the game is over. Hey, the game is over, all right?
And, of course, the guy can't just fall on it inside
right.
the 5. He's got to scoop it up and get in the end zone. The offensive lineman shoves him in just to make sure he got in the end zone. But that's what it took for them to cover for the first time this season. So, look, watching DJU for Clemson, he's so uncomfortable. And then watching Malik Cunningham for Louisville, the way they're playing right now, their current form, the quarterback, big advantage to Louisville. And so they got them at home. And the one thing about Clemson, even though they're not as good this year, man, the ACC teams are lined up to get a piece of them.
Yeah.
They'll be ready to play. I think the wrong team's favorite. This is one of my favorite plays today in Louisville.
All right, he is Jimmy Ott. Weekdays, game time with Jimmy Ott, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And Jimmy joins us every Saturday here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day, courtesy of friends at Lofton Staffing Services, Otter.
Yes, indeed, Trotter. Tired of trying to put your staffing puzzle together? Let Lofton Staffing Services at 924-0200 handle it. Lofton Staffing recruits, screens, and interviews people so they're right for the job. Your business needs administrative, industrial, or even medical personnel. Lofton has the right fit for your needs. Again, no matter what you need, temp to hire, direct hire, Lofton does it. 924-0200 and loftonstaffing.com.
Good luck, Otter. Thanks.
I'll need it. Thank you.
All right, let's see. Jimmy likes Purdue, Louisville, Nevada, Fresno State, Penn State, Michigan, Arkansas, A&M, and West Virginia. I got a lot of agreement with the Otter today, and that really makes me worried, man. Sometimes he's in Fuego, and sometimes I'm in full fade the Otter mode. But I do agree on Purdue. I like West Virginia at home. We talked about that a little bit ago. I like A&M to cover at home. I disagree with them. What do you feel about Arkansas and Mississippi State tonight?
I took Mississippi State now.
So did I.
I think Rodgers has figured this Leach offense out. He's looking really good and real comfortable back there. And it's a really weird offense to really game plan for. Obviously, everyone has a spread offense, but this is a different type of spread. So it's really tough to try to game plan for this in 6 days and try to be ready for it. So I think it's hitting a lot of people by surprise. And what's really doing that is Rodgers playing well.
The former Arkansas coach, Bert Bielema, just scored a win. Maybe, well, I would say the biggest, probably the second biggest of his time at Illinois there. 14-6 over Minnesota up in Minneapolis. So the 20th-ranked Gophers, they go down at home to Illinois, which has scored a couple of big wins now. They already beat Penn State. There's a win on the road against Minnesota. I mean, Brett Bielema probably should have never left Wisconsin. I mean, he had them churning. He had them going to Rose Bowls. It just never worked here. He did his little hiatus in the NFL for a minute, and now he's back in college in the Big Ten, probably where he belongs and probably where he can find a way to win games.
Yeah, that's probably where he can do his best recruiting at. Obviously, he had, like you said, a great thing rolling. They're just running the ball down everyone's throat up at Wisconsin, and tried to do that against Alabama, LSU, and Auburn every year. Probably not a good idea. So it's probably best he does go back up there, and that was a big win for them, and maybe he can turn that thing around.
All right, it is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Now the 2:30 slate's coming at you. Jacob Hester will join us here in about 15 minutes from right now. Hester and Hill will do a little skull session. Also, Hunt Palmer for Hunt and Hill in about 45 minutes from right now. More scoreboards ahead inside the stadium, keys to the V. We're glad you're hanging out with us here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by Home Bank and your Super Chevy dealers.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health. Innovating health.
Eagle 98.1.
Jason Hines is going to be back. Devontae Lee's going to be back. The guys that I know for sure are not going to be back is Sage Ryan. I don't think he's going to be available this week. Bo told me this morning he's out. We're still waiting for Cordell Flott to get better. We think he will, but he won't be practicing today or tomorrow. Hopefully he can practice Wednesday.
That was Ed Ogeron on Monday, and things throughout the week got decidedly worse as we learned that Cordell Flott is going to be out for this ball game. And on Thursday, when Ed Ogeron met with the media, he also gave an update on two other defensive players, linebacker Micah Baskerville, who you might remember was injured against Ole Miss, tried to come back, was injured again, and then defensive lineman Mason Smith.
I got to give the credit to our coaches and our players. What a tremendous week of practice we had this week. We got some guys banged up. We got some guys that came out today. Michael Baskerville came out today. Looks like he is going to play. I didn't know if he could play. Mason Smith's been in crutches since Tuesday. I think he's very questionable for the game, but we're still hoping that he can play. If he doesn't play, Sonny Fanu is going to take his place and do a tremendous job.
All right, so if I'm charting this correctly, I'm going to have to write this down. Okay, all right, so you've got no Ali Gay, and you've got no Andre Anthony at your end.
Yep.
You've not got no Joseph Evans, and now we know that Mason Smith is likely out as well.
Yep.
You've got no Stingley. You've got no Ricks. You've got no Flott.
Yep.
You've got no Major Burns. Yep. And you've got no Sage Ryan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 9 players that at some point this year have started for you on the defensive side that are out in this ballgame. And you're facing a team that scores 47 a game.
Yeah, that's just that's the worst timing for that to possibly happen. Obviously,
and when you had them all healthy, you weren't very good either.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. I think I go back to that UCLA game all the time, and I look, and we had all those guys out there, and it just still didn't look too good. And you go into this Alabama game down all those guys. It's just a very daunting task to X's defense to be out there time and time again and try to find a way to get stopped. So your best formula this week is hope the offense catches fire, and you try to keep the offense out there, scoring and keeping drives going, and really try to be a lot more efficient than we've been. Otherwise, this thing is going to get out of hand pretty fast here.
So the offense needs to get going, you say?
Yep.
Okay. The offense will be, as we know, without Kayshon Boutte. We also learned that Trey Bradford, who has been eligible, was going to play, but then had a recurrence of an injury. Now he won't play at running back this weekend. Offensive lineman Anthony Bradford also out for the duration of the season. Any other ones? Chasen Hines is back, so that's sort of good news there.
Dellinger, I thought Dellinger was hurt too. Maybe I'm wrong on that one.
I lose track. I'm just trying. I mean, I'm doing. That's why I told you how to write it down. Like I'm trying to keep track of all of this right now. One of the things that's sort of been a fan narrative is what's up with the strength and training staff. Like, is that why? Do you attribute all these injuries to that? I think some of it's just tough luck. Like when Glenn Logan breaks his foot in camp, it's nothing to do with the strength and training staff. Like it's football. You're gonna have injuries in football. So look, you were there. It's same strength staff that's there now. That was there. Like, where do you put this? Where there's this type of year with this many injuries, with respect to how you prepare to prevent injuries?
I feel like a lot of them is stuff that's unavoidable. You play a very physical football game. It's equivalent to getting into 60 or 50 car crashes on a given day, and that's just what football is, especially at this level with the athletes and the speed they're running at. Things are going to go wrong, and some of those things are very unavoidable. To me, I've been saying this all year. If this was a team where guys were, pulling up with hamstrings and groins and things of that nature, I could maybe point to the strength and conditioning staff. But these are bones getting broken. These are just things that are just truly unavoidable. You got your quarterback on fishing trips breaking his forearm and stuff. Yeah. So that has nothing to do with the coaching or strength and conditioning staff. I just think you just caught a really, really unlucky break with the injury bug. It kind of parked at the indoor facility and hung out all year there.
It's I haven't seen much like it. I mean, there's. But a contrast is a place like Georgia where when you develop great depth on your roster, the injuries don't hurt you as much. I mean, if you actually take a peek at Georgia's injury list, this is the best team in college football. I mean, they've been playing with their backup quarterback all year, with Stetson Bennett. They've been, McIntosh, one of their great running backs, is out. They've been down their top 2 receivers all season. An All-American defensive back, Tyke Smith, is out. I mean, they had 2 defensive linemen that they missed for the first half of the season. They've had a bunch of injuries too, but look at them. That's the difference in managing your roster, building and developing depth. I think that's been the biggest issue is when LSU has had guys go out, you haven't seen the next guy step up. Ed Ogeron does talk about the next man up mantra. No better place to point to that than on the offensive line, where you just haven't had guys step up and keep progressing and getting better.
Yeah, I think Shea tweeted it a couple of days ago. The most mind-blowing thing, every 5-star that you've gotten on this roster since 2019, none of those guys are going to be available today. And just every last one of them for transfer portal, injury, you name it. It's like the stacked top of your roster. You don't have any of those guys. So like I keep saying, you're bringing a knife to an AK-47 fight. It's just a really, really uphill battle you're going to have to climb here today. And, man, it's just going to be tough thing to do to try to pull that upset off.
Got some drama in Chapel Hill. Wake Forest, Hartman, he threw a pick. North Carolina turns it into a touchdown. We're tied at 48 now. So Wake Forest has the ball. They had gone at 14. I mean, Wake Forest looked like they were poised to just pull away, but the 9th-ranked team in the country up in Chapel Hill with 9 minutes to go in a score fest where you've already got 96 points combined between the two teams. Wake Forest has now moved into North Carolina territory. Look at that, trying to run the ball. Maybe the running back next to me likes the fact that they're maybe trying to run the ball a little bit, maybe chew a little clock. But we'll keep you posted on that one. Ohio State still leading Nebraska 23-17 as they head to the fourth quarter and wait and kickoff on these 2:30 games as well. You did mention the quarterback who fell and broke his arm, and that's Miles Brennan, who this week we did learn is transferring. On Monday, Ed Ogeron was asked about Miles Brennan's decision to transfer out of the program.
He just came meet with me. He said, Coach, he was teary-eyed. It was a tough decision for him. He thought that he just needed to find a place that he felt that he can go play for 1 year and start. And obviously, I know he's not going to play this year. He's not ready. It was a tough decision. I think he and his family made it. I told him, I said, listen, hey, you hold your head high. You gave all you can to LSU. You graduated from LSU, and I wish him the best.
And Ogeron did elaborate a little bit more on Brennan's time in Baton Rouge.
I got to give it to Miles and his family. He remained patient. He waited his turn, and I thought he played very good last year at the beginning of the year. Right? I thought he was very accurate. I thought he made the right throws. He got a strong arm, and I thought he was going to end up having a great year. And unfortunately, he got hurt, and then unfortunately, he got hurt again this year. And things happened that way to where he thought that he had to move on and take a shot at another place. And Joe Burrow did the same thing. It worked out for him. I hope the same thing works out for Miles. He wants to play pro ball. I hope he gets that shot.
So how will you – first, what was your reaction to Brennan's decision to transfer?
I wasn't shocked by it. I think we all kind of expected that, especially after the injury. I thought it happened a lot sooner. He stuck it out a lot longer than I thought, but that you kind of just expected that. Obviously, Max hasn't, fallen totally off the table, so it's looking for him to kind of be the guy next year, just kind of given the job, being the fact that he's been in this offense for going on 3 years now. So I think for Miles and the crew, obviously he can't afford to have another injury to this point. It'd just be demoralizing on a lot of fronts. But I think I agree with Coach O. He's been a phenomenal Tiger throughout his time here. Just a lot of unlucky breaks for him, and I wish him best moving forward down the line.
Yeah, I was a little surprised because Brennan's been so adamant that he wanted to finish his career at LSU. And I guess the other part of it too, Jeremy, is Max Johnson I don't think has played well enough to stake his claim as the starter for the next coach. I mean, that's fair, right? I mean, This offense, not to say that every bit of the struggles have been on Max. It just he just hasn't been good enough to say that's your guy you're rolling with moving forward. So I guess Brennan, had he come back, he would have been in a battle for the job again, and maybe this allows him to go somewhere that he won't have to compete for it. He can put himself in the portal, and teams can come and coaches can say, listen, we're losing our starter. If you come here, you are the starting quarterback. So maybe that just guarantees him a spot and the opportunity to play for a year. The other option that I thought he might consider is do something like what Matt Castle did. I mean, Matt Castle was a backup at USC to Matt Leinart. He never played in college, but he still got picked in the 7th round because his arm talent was so good, and went to New England. And then when Brady had his injury season in 2008, Matt Castle started, ended up getting a big free agent deal with Kansas City, played 14 years in the NFL. I memean, that's obviously an outlier. I mean, that's the exception, not the rule, but it's an option. It would have been somebody, like we were talking earlier, all of us off air, about Jamie Newman, a guy that went undrafted, but still, you try to find your way. But if you have that kind of arm talent, you're going to get a shot at the next level, which I think Brennan will, regardless of what happened this year or what happens next year.
Yeah, I mean, quarterbacks, they don't fall off trees. You find someone little potential, some talent, some intangibles that you can't just really find everywhere. I think you're going to definitely always have a shot. Obviously, you played in big boy football, the SEC, and you had Joe Burrow in front of you. That's a hard guy to start over, and obviously the injury bug kind of hit you really hard when you were the starter. So it's just a lot of unfortunate breaks. But I think for him at this point, he wants to have a shot to guaranteed be the starter and really try to prove that he's worthy of being an NFL draft pick.
It's gonna be interesting to see where he goes. People keep asking, where do you think he's gonna go? I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure he knows either. It's probably one of those deals where you put your name in the transfer portal now to allow coaches and programs to come to you and before rosters fill up in that December signing period. So what's next for Miles Brennan? We'll find out, and I'm sure there's plenty of LSU fans that'll be cheering for Miles along the way. Wake Forest went for it on a 4th down, got the pass batted down. So North Carolina has the football in a tie ball game, 48-all, with 7:58 to play. The Tar Heels have the ball at their own 28-yard line here in a tie game against 9th-ranked Wake Forest, who is undefeated. And, of course, that's just one of the teams we're keeping an eye on. As Wake's undefeated, they're an undefeated Power 5. When you get into November and you're an undefeated Power 5, it bears mentioning that you got to pay attention to teams like that for possible playoff implications. All right, it is Eagle 98.1 Game Day presented by Home Bank and your Super Chevy dealers. Hill and Hester, a little skull session. The guys will break it down X and O next here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Rafino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
And our topic today is about savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Skull Session.
Presented by Gulf Coast Bank. Gulf Coast Bank, the bank that cares about you.
Welcome back to the Eagle 98.1 Game Day pregame show, and we got a little skull session with Hester right now. Jacob, how we doing?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing solid, man. So watching this Alabama team, obviously the first name that jumps off the page to me is Bryce Young. He's completing 70% of his passes right now. When you watch film of him, what's so special about Bryce?
Oh, he's done a really nice job in all phases, really. And I'll tell you the one thing that's probably surprised me the most is how effective he can be with his legs. And that's not only scrambling, but just within the pocket, too. I mean, last year, it was such a small sample size, but he was a guy that held onto the football too long, didn't really move in the pocket, but he was a true freshman. And he really has grown this year, second year in college football, and he's been someone that has lived up to the hype. A lot of times, that just never happens, but he's done that and then some. So he does all things well, man. I can tell you that. He takes care of the football. He can make all the throws. But I think for me, the thing that is surprising, I'll go back to, is just his legs. You go back and I just finished watching the Mississippi State game. There's a couple times where everybody's covered up, coverage sack type situation, and he just pulls it down and runs for 18, 25 yards. And that's probably the thing that he does that I didn't know he really had in his repertoire at this level. So he's a good one, man. He does all things pretty well.
The Crimson Tide wouldn't be the Crimson Tide if they didn't try to run the ball. Obviously, they run a ton of Brian Robinson Jr. Obviously, he's probably not the Trent Richardson and Derrick Henrys, but what impressed you most about Brian?
Well, this is his time to shine, and he's waited a long time. And one of the things that you'll be impressed with when you see him is just how physically gifted he is. I mean, he is a big physical back. But as we've seen this year, I mean, he can do it a lot of different ways as well. He's definitely probably a better pass catcher than he gets credit for. There's been times when they'll just free release and get him in the flats, give him the ball now, allow him to go make a play. But, look, you're going to feel him. He's one of those guys where if you're a linebacker, you're a safety, you're going to be in the ice tub a couple extra days after you play him because he's just a physical running back. But it's not, the only thing he's limited to. He can definitely make plays in space. So I think for him it's really just getting the carries now. I mean, he's always had to share time, and now he's the guy, and he's thriving in that situation.
You got two guys, one averaging 20 yards a reception, one guy's averaging almost 12 yards a reception, Jamison Williams, John Mechie. Talk about those two Alabama receivers.
Yeah, you get the transfer in from Ohio State, and he's lived up to the billing. He's been a really nice number two for this Alabama offense. He's done everything they've asked him to do, and he's definitely a guy that in space can make you look pretty silly. But Mechie, for me, is the guy that you really want to give some credit to because – he's the number one now, and a lot of expectations come with being the number one receiver at Alabama. I mean, we can throw the names out there, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. I mean, we can go, Vontae Smith. We can go name for name of guys that have been a number one receiver at Alabama, and he has been given that title this year, and he's lived up to the billing. He will run past you in a heartbeat. He is definitely their deep threat guy, and with a banged-up LSU secondary who's basically, without any of the starters they started the year with, it kind of makes you a little nervous. And the fact that they've got two guys that are elite at getting behind you and making you miss in space.
A guy I think that can totally wreck this game, especially on third down, is Will Anderson Jr. Talk about the production he's been given in the pass rush game for Alabama this year.
He could run it on first, second, and third down. It doesn't really matter what down it is. I mean, you're talking about a surefire first-round draft choice. I mean, he is, coming off the edge with his hair on fire every single time. I mean, we've seen him take over games. We've seen him have 3-4 sacks in a game. He's just a special player, and this is somebody that you knew, before the season when this game came, it was going to be a long day for an LSU offensive line trying to block that guy. And when you look at the situation of LSU's personnel, what can you do? Like, what can you do to try to slow him down a little bit? I would assume you're going to run 11 personnel with Jack Mashburn, the tight end, really just being on whichever side he can be to try to help out because it's not like Alabama doesn't have another rusher on the other side. But I would expect a lot of Mashburn kind of in that wing H-back position trying to give both tackles some help because, I mean, even against the best tackles in the country, he's been really thriving. And as we know, LSU's been struggling at that position.
If you're Jake Peets and the crew, how would you attack this Bama defense? Is there any weaknesses that you see that maybe we have some matchups and could try to attack?
Well, the funny thing is Alabama actually has given up some yards on the ground, but as we know, LSU has really been, feast or famine in the last couple of weeks on the ground. You look at the Kentucky game, they have success. Florida game, a ton of success. And then Ole Miss, now, kind of the way that game's pace was going, and you didn't really allow it for the run game to get going. But Ole Miss did a really nice job. DJ Durkin did a nice job of adjusting to LSU's counterplay, and I was a little surprised LSU just didn't have something else to go to. Ole Miss was, as soon as they saw the formation, their safeties were basically hitting it on the run. They'd follow the pullers on that counter play. They see the guard tackle pull, and they would just follow them, blow it up in the backfield. And LSU never adjusted to that. So you got to have some type of adjustment because teams can run on Alabama this year, which is not typical, obviously, in the past. So what can you do? What can be that other thing that you can try to roll out there to be successful with? Because, you've really struggled to run the football this year. You found a counterplay in the gap scheme that was, really good for you, but what can you do now? Do you run some powers because they haven't run that gap scheme really at all this year, and LSU does have some guards, namely Ed Ingram, that do really thrive in pulling. So you got to do something else because that's the one place that you can get some yards on Ole Miss.
A quote earlier this week that kind of shocked a lot of Tiger fans is Coach O saying that we've been very predictable, especially on the offensive side of the ball. How are you feeling about Jake Peaks going against Old Nick this week in game planning?
Well, really, it was both sides of the ball. And a lot of people, were wondering about Coach O's comments. Look at self-scout. That's what self-scout is. And, Hill, you know this. You have to be brutally honest. You have to say, hey, during the bye week, we went back, we watched our tape like if we were scouting against our own team, and this is what we saw. And we've talked about the offense. They've got a lot of tendencies. When they're in this certain personnel, they like to run the ball. When they're in this formation, they like to do this. And that's what you have to get out of. And when they're, sprinting out to the left or right, it's kind of predictable when they're going to do it based off formation. So all of those things are things that when you self-scout, you find out. And Coach O, again, was brutally honest about it defensively. Again, same thing. He said, we got to be more diverse. And we're doing a deep dive into the numbers. This was one that shocked me. I knew they weren't a team that blitzed very much, but they are actually the last in the Power 5 in teams that bring pressure on defense. LSU only blitzes 12% of the time. Only 2.5% of the time, Hilly, is it somebody outside of the front seven. And as a running back, man, that makes my job easier. If I'm not having to worry about nickels, safeties, and corners, I can just look in the box. I am checking, getting out on my route, and I'm probably going to be open. They haven't brought a single, as in less than one, simulated blitz this year. And if you're asking what that is, Hilly, I know you know, but that's saying, okay, we're going to bring 3 defensive linemen and a nickel off the edge. Well, they don't consider that a blitz, but it's a simulated blitz because you're bringing pressure. Even though it ends up only being 4, you're still changing the sight line. Dave Aranda did it a ton at LSU. LSU has not done that a single time yet this year. So, yeah, there's been some predictability when it comes to LSU's offense and defense. And, hell, why not this week? Just change it up, man. What in the world do you have to lose? If you've got to play up, if you've got a certain situation up where you want to run a fake or you want to run a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, whatever it might be, let it be on the table here this week because you've scouted, you've seen what you need to do and what you haven't been doing so far this year. So if there's ever a time to kind of empty the chamber, it's got to be this week.
All right, one more question for you here. For Durante Jones, do you think this is the week? I've been asking for this all year, but kind of create a third down and kind of exotic blitz package where you maybe line up in the same front, but you have maybe 4 or 5 plays that you can run out of that?
I would love to see it. Again, kind of going back to what I just said, why not? Why would it not be this week? And he's got him in his arsenal. He's been in the NFL for so long, and the guy that he learned under Mike Zimmer was like the founder of the double A gap blitz. And when you mug those 2 linebackers in there, and that gives quarterbacks, it gives centers, it gives running back headaches because you can't be right? They're going off your technique. If you try to run up and block one of them, he's going to drop, and the other's going to come. You're going to not have leverage on him. He's going to sack the quarterback. It's like, Mike Zimmer was the guy that brought that to the NFL. He's the guy that thrived in that situation. And obviously, like I was saying, we haven't seen anything like that so far this year. And you've got to try to confuse Alabama because if you just line up, play a 4-2-5, cover 1, which they've done a majority of the year, almost every team's going to scheme against that and have success, but certainly Alabama's going to. So, yeah, man, throw some different, throw some new, throw something that's going to make me think before the ball snapped.
All right, appreciate some time, Jacob.
All right, fellas, talk to y'all next week.
All right, guys, so we'll get to y'all after the break with a little more scoreboard today.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram are now open for business and are ready to serve our customers with disaster relief employee pricing off I-10 in LaPlace. If you need sales, service, or fleet, the crews at Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram are going to do right by you. Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, Know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health. Innovative.
Eagle 98.1, the dependable storage college football scoreboard. Dependable storage. Let us store your stuff. DependableStorage.com.
There's drama in Chapel Hill. 2:08 to play. North Carolina has kicked the go-ahead field goal. At one point in the second half, UNC trailed Wake Forest by 18, but they roar back. They kick a field goal to take the lead. Wake Forest has the football, down 3. 2 minutes to play. They've got all 3 timeouts, so we will monitor there. But this obviously has major implications on the college football playoff, as Wake Forest is one of the few remaining unbeaten Power 5 teams. We've talked about the remainder of their schedule, which is manageable, but they've got to rally here against North Carolina if they're going to remain among the unbeaten.
It's going to be tough to manage when you're getting up 51. That's a tall task to ask your offense to continue to save you from that. And they got everything in front of them. You're obviously 4-down territory with all your timeouts, so you feel like you can at least get in field goal range to have an opportunity to put this thing in overtime.
George, let's just run through games that are still in progress. Georgia Tech and Miami, 8 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. As Musso pointed out earlier, it's an ACC game on ESPN 3. Miami and Georgia Tech. It's 33-30. The Canes leading with 8:40 to go. Arkansas State and Appalachian State. Appalachian State up 24-14. Southern Miss leading North Texas 14-0. That one just starting the second quarter. East Carolina up 7-0 on Temple. At the end of the first quarter, UL Monroe, that's LSU's opponent in a couple of weeks, they trailed Texas State 10-6. Out west, Arizona and Cal late in the first quarter, no score. Cincinnati just underway against Tulsa, and the Bearcats presently leading that. They just punched in their first score of the game. So Cincinnati takes their first possession of the ball game and goes up 7-0. What did I miss?
Oh, they went for it in their own territory on 4th and 1. They got it, though. It was very close. I thought they were about to get stuffed, but Texas A&M, they got it going in. Going for it. I was
watching Wake Forest. Okay, all right, so A&M. All right, no score with A&M and Auburn. Wake Forest facing a 3rd and 10. It's incomplete. So Wake Forest is going to face a 4th and 10 to have an opportunity to continue or keep its perfect season alive. Underway in the Big 12, we mentioned a couple of big ones. West Virginia hosting Oklahoma State. West Virginia takes the opening kickoff. They settle for a field goal, a chip shot field goal, a 30-yarder, but it's 3-0 West Virginia early against Oklahoma State. Like we mentioned, that's big for Oklahoma State, 7-1 in the Big 12, and they do still have Bedlam against Oklahoma. Same for Baylor. They're underway against TCU. That game's on Fox. No score, just underway. Baylor also 7-1 on the season. So a couple of Big 12 teams, a lot to play for today.
Yeah, they got everything in front of them, especially with undefeated Oklahoma. You handle business. You got to knock that win off. You saw that having a big win like that did for Oregon. So I'm sure for both of those teams that's going to shoot them up the rankings if they pull that upset off. And they still got to win on the way, but if they do that, they got everything in front of them.
Of course, Oklahoma State did already beat Baylor. That's Baylor's lone loss on the season. As Jeremy mentioned, Auburn and Texas A&M, they're underway. Auburn punted on its first possession. A&M went for it on a 4th and 1 in its own possession, converted. So A&M with the ball, driving 8:50 to play here in the first quarter. But A&M with its first possession, and they are moving. 15th ranked BYU and Idaho State, they're underway. They're in Salt Lake, in Provo. In the Big Ten, Wisconsin and Rutgers, 21st ranked Badgers on the road in Piscataway. No score early in that one, as a lot of this 2:30 slate is just kicked off. Same for Rice and Charlotte, no score. Middle Tennessee up 7-0 on Western Kentucky early in that one. Penn State and Maryland. This is one of the games that Jimmy liked. Penn State, a 10-point road favorite over Maryland. That game is on FS1, but no score early. Penn State from 5-0, ranked in the top 5, losers of 3 straight. You mix their open date in there as well. They've gone a month without scoring.
Yeah, you see how
without winning.
Yeah, you see how important the quarterback position is. Obviously, Clifford plays a big role in that offense. He seems to have comfort in that offense, and when he went out, things just went downhill pretty fast. So I think they get him back today, correct, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Sean Clifford's back, yeah.
Yeah, so they get him back today, so that's going to be a huge boost of confidence for that offense, and they should be able to handle business against Maryland.
So the 4th down play for Wake Forest was an incomplete pass. However, there is a flag on the play, and this is likely going to be against North Carolina, which is going to extend the drive for Wake Forest. We're just waiting on the call. Foul on both teams is what he said.
Replay the down.
We're trying to pantomime here. We're reading the referee's lips. But there was an unsportsmanlike conduct, which would be after the play, but he didn't signal that it was dead ball. So we'll wait and see. If it's after the play, then the play's over and North Carolina takes over and they're going to win the football game. We're just waiting on a clarification. But for now, it appears as though North Carolina is going to knock off Wake Forest from the ranks of the unbeaten. They will, yeah. So that was a dead ball. So North Carolina has it. Minute 22. Wake Forest has all 3 timeouts, so they can get a stop if they can. But there's a long run. Who's going to house it? North Carolina just running the ball to run clock, and they take it to the house. So that is going to do it. North Carolina is going to beat Wake Forest. Wake Forest will no longer be among the unbeaten in college football. Rhode Island beating UMass 7-0. South Alabama and Troy, no score early. Wyoming hosting Colorado State, no score. Big one in the Big Ten. Michigan State, 3rd ranked and undefeated on the road in Purdue. We are already seeing one unbeaten go down here with Wake Forest. Could Michigan State be next? We disagree on this one. Otter and I both like Purdue. You like Michigan State. We'll see how this one turns out. Michigan State's 8-0, but it's been by the hardest. It hasn't always looked the best. I think everyone can agree Kenneth Walker is an amazing, amazing running back. Tall test for Michigan State for Sparty today there in West Lafayette.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game for them. Obviously, they just got thrust into the national spotlight, being where they were ranked in the college football playoff ranking. So we'll see. You're going to get every team's undivided attention now that they would love to knock off the number 3 team in the country. So you'll see kind of how this thing plays out with Mel Tucker and the crew. It's a big game for them to keep where they are and to continue their journey this season, trying to do something special.
Finals from earlier today: Georgia, they blast Mizzou 43-6. What happened at the end of the game? Mizzou had the ball. The line was 6, and Mizzou had the ball like right at the 1 yard line, right at the end. I don't know what they did. We
didn't go back and check that. Let me go back and check that real quick. Okay, so they didn't score. They
obviously didn't score. There were a lot of people who were very interested in what might have happened in the cover. But let's see.
Yeah, they didn't score. Let me go by the play-by-play.
So they had a 4th and goal from the 1, and they threw an incomplete pass with 3 seconds to go. So Missouri was trying to score. There were a lot of people keenly interested in that 4th down play from the 1-yard line in a 43-6 ball game. But the number 1 ranked Bulldogs, they roll as they have really all season. So taking a look at the rest of the finals from the morning slate of games, Ohio State, they hang on to beat Nebraska 26-17. A late field goal gave them the final margin to make it a 2-score game. Nebraska couldn't overcome. Ole Miss, they got off to a 24-0 halftime lead. They hang on against Hugh Freeze's Liberty Flames 27-14. Matt Corral in that game threw for 324. 20-27 for 324 and a score despite the gimpy ankle. You kind of feel for Corral because he could, maybe should be in the Heisman conversation. He's putting up amazing numbers. The bum ankle and all the injuries on that team are probably going to keep him from what could have been a really special year.
Yeah, you can tell. He even limps off the sideline. He's just not himself right now, but he can still do a lot of damage from the pocket. I noticed when the Liberty defensive linemen just run him down, he has great escapability. He can't get away from anybody right now. He has to do all his damage from the pocket, which he still can do at a high level, as you can see by the stats by the day. But I think a full, healthy Corral, you saw what he did against Tennessee, almost 200 rushing yards. That's just not the guy that's been playing these past few weeks.
Another ranked team went down to an unranked team. Minnesota at home falls to Illinois 14-6. Minnesota did manage a touchdown in that ball game. The PAT was no good, but 14-6 was your final in that ball game with Brett Bielema getting a big win for the Illinois Fighting Illini. Pittsburgh beat Duke 54-29. A battle of the service academies. Army on the road beats Air Force 21-14 in overtime. UAB beats Louisiana Tech 52-38. In the Big 12, Kansas in Lawrence loses to Kansas State 35-10. So the Jayhawks fall to 1-8 on the season. Kansas State, nice little season there under Chris Kleeman, 6-3 for Kansas State. Memphis beats SMU 28-25. So the Mustangs, which at one point were undefeated and ranked, they're now after a couple of losses now at 7-2 on the season. Underway. In about 5 minutes, Mississippi State and Arkansas from Fayetteville. North Carolina State will be at Florida State. Also at 3 o'clock, Utah State, New Mexico State. 3:07 p.m. on ESPNU. Tulane is at Central Florida down at the Bounce House. Marshall and Florida Atlantic will tangle down in Florida today at 5 o'clock. Coastal Carolina is at Georgia Southern. In the SEC tonight, a good one, Tennessee and Kentucky from Kroger Field there in Lexington. In the Big Ten, Iowa visits Northwestern. The Hawkeyes, a 12-point favorite in that ball game. 23rd-ranked Fresno State at 6 o'clock. They'll host Boise State. Boise had a nice win earlier this year against BYU, but at 4-4, this isn't your typical Boise State team. Old Dominion visits Florida International. Oregon State is at Colorado. New Mexico hosts UNLV. The big one in the night window is number 4 Oregon up in Seattle against Washington. The Ducks are a 7-point favorite at Husky Stadium tonight, but Oregon has no margin for error at all, already having the loss earlier this season to Stanford. Who do you like in that ballgame, Matt? You like Oregon or Washington?
I like Oregon. I think that Stanford slip-up was a lot for that team. They know they can't do that again, so I think they're gonna play pretty strong in this season, I think.
Don't sleep on the Huskies in that one, bro.
Yeah, they're well coached. They could do something there, but I think Oregon knows what's in front of them. If they can win this Pac-12, they're going to be right in the playoff.
Don't sleep on them Huskies tonight, man.
You liking the Huskies?
I have a feeling that's going to be one that when we're at Don Juan Cigar Bar kicking off whiskey and wine, everybody's going to be keeping an eye on that one because I think that's going to be a 4-quarter game with an opportunity to go either way at the end. Indiana is at Michigan. That's also a 6:30 game on Fox. Florida visits South Carolina. How about this? South Carolina, 4-4 in the season. Florida, 4-4 in the season. How differently 4-4 feels for those two programs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Shane Beamer's first, I think their over-under was maybe 2.5, 3? Was it 3?
Yes.
It was 3. So, I mean, their win total was 3. They're already over.
Yeah, they had a grad assistant playing quarterback for most of the year this year. So, yeah, that's definitely incredible. Obviously, the expectations aren't what you would see for a Florida program, but I actually took South Carolina to cover that 20.5. I think there's a lot of dissension going on with Dan Mullen and the crew. They're trying to figure some things out over there, especially with the quarterbacks having the turnovers that they've been having all year. So, yeah, I think South Carolina can cover that 20.5.
Wake Forest goes right down the field. 35-second touchdown drive. So they're back within 3 with 37 seconds to go in the ball game. So they got 2 timeouts. So they'll attempt an onside kick. See what happens. Texas A&M stalls out on 4th and goal. They're going to attempt a chip shot field goal, glorified PAT. It is good. So the Aggies lead Auburn 3-0 early in that ball game. Clemson and Louisville tonight. Clemson's a 3.5-point favorite. Otter said Louisville was his favorite play of the night. What do you think about that one?
Man, that quarterback, he's been playing better. I like Malik, but I don't know. That's a toss-up for me. But if I had to pick, I'll probably think Louisville can get it done.
Texas visits Iowa State in Ames. Boy, Sark and the boys at 4-4. I don't think anybody saw this going this way for Texas at the start of this season. But, they have just not been able to get it done. They lose to Arkansas. They blow the late lead against Oklahoma. They lost last week. They've just not been able to finish football games.
Man, who would have thought beating Napier and the crew at ULL would have created so much hype for Texas? They thought they were flying so high. The Card era has started. Texas is back. And they slip up against Oklahoma. I think that was the biggest, letdown for them. They had their game right in the balance, and they let the backup quarterback come in and steal the show, and things have not looked good since that.
Houston will visit South Florida tonight from Raymond James Stadium. Nevada hosts San Jose State. That's another game that the Otter like. You like Carson Strong as well. You were hyping him up. That's the Nevada quarterback.
Yeah. Big, strong pocket pass. You know how I feel about the pocket passers, man. So, yeah, Carson's one of those kids. So, yeah, I like seeing him throw that rock around.
Let's see if Wake Forest can execute this onside kick.
Nope. Too hard.
Ooh. Out of bounds. Okay, so North Carolina will take over possession. 36 seconds, and the Tar Heels will win the ball game. A UTSA undefeated. And we're giving all this love to Cincinnati. UTSA is undefeated as well. Come on now. Group of 5. What are we doing? They visit UTEP. Southern Cal is at Arizona State. 24th ranked San Diego State visits Hawaii tonight. Some finals from earlier in the week. Ball State beat Akron on Tuesday. Ohio beat Miami of Ohio to get just their second win of the season. Eastern Michigan in a score fest against Toledo, 52-49. Eastern Michigan wins it. Central Michigan upsets Western Michigan, 42-30 on Wednesday. Kent State beat Northern Illinois, 52-47. You got to love those Maction scores, don't you? And ULL, the Cajuns, beat Georgia State, 21-17. Last night, Boston College throttled Virginia Tech, 17-3, and Utah blasted Stanford, 52-7. The crazy thing about that Utah-Stanford game is Utah had 300 yards of offense in the first half of that ball game. It was a bonkers. It was like 300 yards to 38 in the first half. It was bonkers.
Man, no one just wants to play defense. I guess that's just a thing of the past. We're just going to do Elite 11 quarterback camp, 7-on-7 tournaments, and just, forget defense. We don't need that stuff.
That's the same Stanford team that beat Oregon. It's crazy. Stanford as long as David Shaw has been there, they've just been such a weird team to figure out because like when Chip Kelly was at Oregon, Stanford always gave Oregon fits. It's just they are a matchup problem for some, and then they just get embarrassed by others. And that was evidence of it last night. Stanford falls to 3-6 after the loss. All right, Aggies are up 3-0, and as CBS points out, the Aggies are 24-4 under Jimbo when they score first, so we'll see if they can make it 25-4. We'll knock out a quick break. Talking Tigers is coming up, and then Hunt and Hill. Stick around. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Talking Tigers. Talking Tigers. Presented by Louisiana Land Bank. Louisiana Land Bank. They're experts in rural land and equipment lending. Talking Tigers. LSU quarterback Max Johnson.
Yeah, I think it was kind of just a self-scouting time for us, just to get better. And I think it was a time for us to, get some rest, get our bodies healthy, and we're looking forward to this Saturday.
LSU linebacker Damone Clark.
I mean, like every week, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, one game at a time. I mean, we know what type of game this is, and I mean, this is why you play SEC football.
LSU offensive lineman Ed Ingram.
I mean, now it's known that we're not the same team that we were in 2019 season. We know that. I mean, we pretty much just going into the week with the idea that we're gonna beat them. We're gonna ruin their season just like we did Florida last year, and we know we can do it. Alabama's not the same team they were last year or 2 years ago. We know that they can be defeated, so that's our mindset going to the game.
LSU quarterback Max Johnson.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've, the linemen have done a great job of kind of understanding where and who to block. I think Coach Davis is going to do a great job of that, and Coach Peace, their game plan is. I think it's been pretty good for this week, and we're looking forward to showing that.
LSU linebacker Damone Clark.
I mean, at the end of the day, we gotta just trust our coach, and we see the things on film that we need to do, or we see the things that other teams have had success against them with. So I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, it's Alabama, LSU. This is what you come to SEC school to play for. So I mean, at the end of the day, I look at this as you don't make it no bigger than what it is. Don't put that much pressure on yourself. I mean, it's just like this is how I look at it. It's another game for me to go out there and prove myself and just continue to just play to the very end and just get my team off.
LSU offensive lineman Ed Ingram.
It was just kind of weird when he first came because our offensive line coach was just fired, and we found out at night, like midnight, pretty much that our coach was being fired, and so they brought a new coach in very quick, and we had to gel with him. Like he was a new coach, we were new players to him, so we all had to come together, and I think we only had a few months to really gel with each other coming into the season. And then as we progressed throughout the season, we gained a trust between each other. So our unit and him, and he just became like, we all love him. He loves us. Yeah, he does joke around a lot. Yeah, he's cool guy. Yeah, he has attention, but he knows when not to joke as well.
LSU quarterback Max Johnson.
I'd say they're pretty physical up front. I think they got a really good bunch of defensive backs. I think we're gonna kind of open it up and try to spread guys out, try to create mismatches and get the ball in our playmakers' hands quickly and allow them to make the plays for us.
LSU linebacker Damone Clark.
I mean, Coach O always tells us to block out the noise, but we know people gonna count us out. So that's kind of more fuel to the fire. You just go out there and just play. Like I said, me personally, I don't make it no bigger than it is. You just gotta go out there and just play and just trust everything that the coaches are prepping us for this week.
Talking Tigers. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Right now, at Corval Toyota in Opelousas, you can get a new Highlander with 1.9% financing for 72 months, or we have several new Tundras in stock with the 5.7 V8 engine. So come see us today for your new Toyota. That's Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law office of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
Thanks, you're ready. Yardbirds up. Veggies in the window.
Barbecue guys, born to grill.
Pops, how many steaks you want?
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Rafino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Hunt and Hill on Game Day. Presented by First South Farm Credit. First South Farm Credit. Financing farms and land since 1916. Hunt and Hill is heard weekdays from noon to 2 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now, here's Hunt Palmer and Jeremy Hill.
Welcome back to the Eagle 98.1 Game Day pregame show. I'm Jeremy Hill, half of Hunt Hill, and here we have Hunt Palmer, the other half. Hunt, how we doing?
It's a beautiful day in Baton Rouge. I'm doing good.
Oh, man. No, not the normal feelings we would normally have going into a LSU Alabama game, is it?
I mean, I have no emotion. I'm just going to sit there on the couch. I'm going to watch the absolute annihilation, and then I'll be done with it. We'll move on to the next day of the couch.
All right. Alabama sitting at number 2 seed in the College Football Playoff Committee. What's different about this year's version of Alabama?
Well, I think a couple of things. One, they're not as big as they usually are on the defensive front. They've gone with a little leaner group, and that's allowed the teams to run the ball effectively. Florida comes to mind, obviously. But they're really good at rushing the passer. We know about Will Anderson, who's as good as there is in the league. And they've got elite athletes. Saban's the best recruiter in the country, and they've got better players than just about everybody. Jordan may have something to say about that. But it's a team that's a little bit leaner. And then offensively, I think they don't quite have the superstar wide receiver room they've had over the last 4 years. I mean, that may be the best receiver room we've ever seen. But they still got plenty of talent, and Bryce Young's playing awesome, and they're really good.
What would you say will be the biggest strength of this year's defense at Alabama?
I think probably rushing the passer, Anderson off the edge. The secondary has had some lapses. Zach Calzada played lights out against them. That's what it takes to beat Alabama. Your quarterback's got to be got to be awesome, and he was that day. He hadn't really been any other day, but he was that day. So I think that the best part of Alabama's defense is their ability to get after the passer.
Okay, with that being said, if you're Jake Peetz and the crew, would this be the week you try to, remake a little Florida and get the run game going, or you staying far away from that?
I really think, based on some discussions I had, that LSU is going to put the ball in the air a lot today. They know they have to score. I think they know that they're not very good at running the ball. That Florida game looks more and more like an aberration as week goes by. But I think they're going to throw it a ton and put this thing on Max Johnson on his left arm and see if they can't get some of these young wide receivers involved and make some big plays in the passing game.
Well, if you're going to get this passing game going, you're going to need some young receivers. Which guys do you think are poised today to kind of have a big day?
Yeah, I mean, Besh is the guy who's been pretty consistent. They've found a way to get him the ball in the middle of the field a lot, so I think he's probably the first guy. But, you and I have been pretty steadfast. We think Malik Neighbors is a star in the making, and I think tonight would be a pretty good time to break onto the scene if they could get him involved a little bit. He's been banged up. He hadn't practiced a ton, so we'll see how much they can get him into the game plan. But, man, I'd like to see it.
So, obviously, no Emery all year, and we thought we were going to get Bradford back in the backfield. He's out as well. Do you think this is the week? Obviously, Armani Goodwin's had some time to get healthy. Do you think he can maybe help this running out, maybe pop some plays?
I expect him to get a little bit of carries, but I think Ty Davis Price is the starter and will get the lion's share of them. I think there's something to be said for testing the edges of the defense with the speed and shiftiness that Armani Goodwin gives you. He's a different kind of back. But to sit here and tell you I think he's going to get 12 carries, I think is probably disingenuous.
All right, well, let's talk about this Alabama offense. Other than Bryce Young, who do you think could do the most damage to the Tigers today on that offense?
I think Brian Robinson's going to get a lot of carries out of the backfield. I think Alabama's going to try to run the ball a good bit. But then you realize that LSU's got in the secondary, and you start looking at those guys out there, and it's not Ruggs and Judy and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle, but they've got some guys who can make some plays, and obviously Mechie's been around for a long time. So, honestly, unfortunately, they can probably pick whatever they want to do and do it. That's how good they are on offense and how banged up and bad LSU's been the last month on defense. It's not really fun to talk about, but it's the reality.
So looking at the stats for the season, we're probably one of the least blitzing teams in the country. Do you think this is the week we kind of, maybe draw up some exotic blitzes?
I think they can try. I think you and I had a good conversation earlier this week, and you made a good point. I think that's playing with fire if you do that too often because you're so limited in what you've got at defensive back. I think a better plan is probably just to sit back and die by a million paper cuts, kind of like they did against Mississippi State, and just try to keep Alabama in front of you and don't let them make those huge plays. Maybe they get a holding call. Maybe they drop one. Maybe you just make them go 14 plays down the field instead of giving them the opportunity to hit you deep. So it's a tough spot for Durante Jones when you've got 9 of your top 14 players or so on defense out of the game. There's just not a ton you can do.
All right, 26 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, completing 70% of his passes, right there in the Heisman race. Do you think that Bryce Young makes a Heisman statement today?
I don't know how much of a statement you can make on a 500 LSU team. I think he can add to what he's doing. I mean, Matt Corral's obviously really banged up, and that hurts him. We'll see what goes on in East Lansing, Michigan over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, they've got a guy who's got to stay there, but I think Bryce Young's probably the favorite right now because the team he plays for, the numbers he's rolling up. Yeah, and I'd expect him to probably put together a pretty strong game today because that's generally what he does.
All right, so I know this is a really rhetorical question, but I'm asking anyway. How are you feeling about the coaching matchup heading into Bryant-Denny today?
Well, look, I mean, LSU's there's only so much you can do with the players LSU's got, and obviously Alabama has got NFL head coaches as assistants on the staff. He's established a coaching rehabilitation clinic over there, and it's turning them in and out. So, look, yeah, I think there's a mismatch just about everywhere on the field today, and that certainly wouldn't exclude coaches when you got the best to ever do it on one side and the guy who's already been collecting buyout checks on the other.
All right, so speaking of coaches, let's say things go extremely bad today. Do you think that puts a little special pressure on Woodward and the crew to kind of get a coach hired quicker than they want to?
No, I don't think that has anything to do with it. This season's a lost cause, sunk cost, and you just run out the string until you can make your move. The guy that he's going to hire is still coaching important games, very likely. So I don't think that has anything to do with it.
All right, so I know you don't like to do this normally, but I'm going to put you on the spot here once again. What's your prediction? Maybe
Shut it,
Matt. I've heard enough. All right. I think it's something along the lines of 45-10. I just don't have much confidence on the other side of the ball for LSU today. I hope they go out there and play hard. I hope they hit some big plays. I hope some of the young guys show out and get some confidence and show they can do it against the standard in college football. But I don't know that it's very realistic to think about that. You're looking at a team that was down 35-7 against Kentucky and Ole Miss, something like that. It probably won't look much better tonight.
All right. Well, tell people where they can listen to you pregame and postgame.
Yeah, we'll be at Cards and Culture. I'm just pulling up here in Perkins Row. If you're looking for something to do to kill some time before the kickoff, come on by Cards and Culture. We'll be there starting at 4 o'clock, and you can catch us on the LSU Sports Radio Network. If you're in Baton Rouge, that's on Eagle 98.1, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Appreciate some time, Hunt.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right, guys. We'll be back with y'all a little more scoreboard in a bit.
Our topic today is about savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
It is not too late. You can enroll today at ITI. Winter classes start November 17th. Our industry-driven curriculum will put you on a new career on a fast track. Enroll today for a better life.
Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram are now open for business and are ready to serve our customers with disaster relief employee pricing off I-10 in LaPlace. If you need sales, service, or fleet, the crews at Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram are going to do right by you.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day Scouting Report.
Presented by Demco. Demco, powering lives, brightening the future.
Well, if we went over every player in Alabama's roster that would be a draftable prospect, that would probably take the entirety of the show, because when you recruit the way Alabama does, that's just typically how it goes. So let's highlight who Mel Kiper had among his top 10 by position, as he does in his big board. And we'll just go sort of in the way that he lists them, starting with offensive skill guys and onto the defensive side of the ball. Bryce Young at quarterback isn't listed because it's just draft eligible this year, but we assume Bryce Young will be a highly drafted player when his day comes. At wide receiver, Jamison Williams, of course, is the Ohio State transfer, has had a magnificent season. And then John Mechie, Jeremy, is the guy that everyone thought was going to be the next breakout guy. And it hasn't really materialized for John Mechie this year, but what sort of problems do those two guys give LSU on the edge?
Man, they're electric. Mechie, obviously not the deep threat that Williamson is, but man, Williams, that he is. But those guys know how to get the ball and make plays after the catch, and that's what you see. Bryce Young does a phenomenal job, especially what we call scramble drill when the natural pocket breaks down, the quarterback has to run around. Those two guys do a phenomenal job, staying in tandem with him and being available down the field, and they've been cooking a lot of people with that as well. So they're very explosive, and Bryce Young is very accurate putting the ball on them down the field.
Yeah, to your point about Williams, averaging 20 yards per reception.
Yeah,
20 yards a catch. It's so stupid. John Mechie, not bad himself. 11 yards a catch, 52 receptions for 601. Also in that offensive side of the ball, Brian Robinson Jr. is having himself a fine season behind Najee Harris. He's got 706 yards on the season. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. Scored 11 times. He's a pretty special back, too.
Yeah, he is. He's on pace to go over 1,000 yards, probably have anywhere from 18 to 20 touchdowns, depending on the SEC and college football playoff. That's impressive to do, especially doing an SEC schedule like they have. They do a great job, running and passing and being balanced. And I think that's what you see from Saban on both sides of the ball, just a balanced attack. And Robinson does a great job helping out with that.
So Mel Kiper does mention at tight end Jaleel Billingsley. He's been a little bit of a strange case this year, where early in the season he wasn't playing much, and when asked about it, Saban said, Billings has got to do some things that he needs to do to deserve time to be on the field. Kind of alluded to the fact that there might be some off-the-field stuff there, but there's no doubt that when Billingsley is on the field, he's a difference maker at tight end.
Yeah, just a highly, highly recruited player, especially at the tight end position. Obviously a great pass catcher. And it's that offense, man, they're so multiple. They spread it around. There's not one Devontae Smith you would point to and say, man, that guy's just better than everyone else. They're kind of bunched in together with a bunch of guys who probably aren't world beaters, but really, really good, SEC football players and possibly NFL players in the future as well. So I think Billingsley is definitely that tight end, but it's really hard to, kind of garner those type of touches when they have so much talent over there.
Kiper ranks Billingsley as the fourth best tight end in this draft. He ranks offensive tackle Evan Neal as the best offensive tackle in the draft. If LSU had Andre Anthony, Ali Gay, I might feel better about their pass rush in this ball game. Great opportunity for a guy like B.J. Ojulari in this game, who's probably going to be matched up on Neal quite a bit tonight. But that's a tough draw.
Yeah, it is. You got guys who are going to get paid a lot of money in a couple years here to play football, and that's what they'll be doing tonight. And just doesn't bode well, man. They're stacked up. Obviously, Nick does a phenomenal job recruiting, and Neal's been doing a phenomenal job all year blocking for Bryce Young, giving him all the time in the world to sit back and survey the defense. And he's been completed 70% of his passes, so that's no spot you want to be if you're a Tiger today.
On the defensive side, a name that's familiar to Louisiana football fans, Fidarian Mathis is ranked as the fourth best defensive tackle in this draft. Of course, he's from North Louisiana. It came down to an LSU-Alabama battle. That's the one, oddly enough, you remember, he committed from a cemetery when he did his commitment announcement. But Fidarian Mathis turned out to be a really good defensive lineman at Alabama. He'll be one of the anchors there in the middle.
Yeah, big anchor. That's a big boy right there, 300-plus pound D tackle, just causing havoc. And the thing that's crazy about him, he's a second leader in sacks for that team. So, he's creating havoc and on pace to possibly have double-digit sacks if things get crazy for him. So that's the type of production you need from the interior of that line, and that's what he's been giving him.
Another Louisiana guy, Mel Kiper ranks among his top linebacker prospects is Christian Harris from right here in Baton Rouge. That's one of those that was just a misevaluation on LSU's part. Harris is a guy that they looked at and said maybe he could play tight end at LSU. Well, Nick got him to Tuscaloosa. He played linebacker. He's an All-American potential candidate and a high draft pick.
Yeah, he's one of those dudes that are playing well, and I think for him, he's done a good job blitzing. They do a great job blitzing him and finding ways to get him to the quarterback. He has a couple sacks this season, and just a super, super athletic guy who can run sideline to sideline and make plays. You'll see a ton of him today.
Nick Saban's background, of course, is in the secondary, so you typically see cornerbacks and safeties high in the draft from this Alabama defense. There's a litany of them we could run through, but he's got Josh Jobe, Mel Kiper ranks as the fifth best cornerback, and Jordan Battle is the sixth best safety in this year's draft. What do you know about those two guys?
Yeah, they've been the backbone of that secondary. Obviously, they had some kind of bust coverages this year, but not much of those two guys, man. Those guys have been playing well, and, Saban's going to coach the secondary at an all-time high. Probably couldn't pick a better coach to want to coach your defensive backs than that guy, and he's having those guys in position to make plays in that multiple defense that they run. those are another two names you'll definitely see a lot of today as well.
There will be a lot of Bama players called in the draft, as there are every single year, but those are some of the names to keep an eye on tonight, as LSU and Alabama will tee it up and kick it off at 6 p.m. from Tuscaloosa. So we are about 2.5 hours away from kickoff. When we're done here, we'll hand it over to Hunt Palmer and the LSU Sports Radio Network, as they'll count you down right up until kickoff. When we come back, though, we'll take a look at some scores around the country as the 2:30 slate are underway. The morning games are all finished. We'll get your scoreboard when we return here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by Home Bank and your Super Chevy dealer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Yo, Jake here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic, the place that's going to be convenient for you during an inconvenient time. Look, you hear me talk about my 4 boys all the time, and sometimes things like stitches, well, they happen. And in fact, they have. And Patient Plus is always taking care of us, just like they'll do the same for you. And now with 7 convenient locations across the Baton Rouge area, open from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m., 7 days a week. And also at patientplusuc.com, you can sign up for your appointment on the way to the clinic. That's Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic. Get in and get better.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice.
Eagle 98.1. The Ralph's Market College Football Scoreboard. Ralph's Market, where quality and customer service are a family tradition.
The big one in the Big Ten, Purdue got up to a 7-0 lead. Michigan State quickly answered. Purdue has gone back into the end zone. Boilermakers leading at 14-7. Early minutes here of the second quarter, but a nice run by Kenneth Walker III. Sparty is inside of the Purdue 35-yard line now. So Purdue leading Michigan State 14-7, but Michigan State is threatening. What do you see so far in this one?
Man, I thought Michigan State's defense would come out a little more stout. They've been giving up some plays, man. Obviously, little undergun, not a ton of 4- or 5-star guys out there for them, but they've been giving up some yards. So we got to see if they can get some stops here. This is going to be a barn burner, if you ask me.
Nice pass into the red zone has Michigan State now 1st and 10 from the Purdue 15-yard line. Looking to tie it up. We'll keep you posted. Cincinnati, no trouble early with Tulsa. 11:21 to play in the first half. It's Cincinnati 14-3. They were about a 22-point favorite in that ball game. I just don't know. I mean, Jeremy, I just don't know what Cincinnati can do in the way of style points remaining, just with nobody left on their schedule with a pulse.
Yeah, and Notre Dame being down 3 to Navy right now sure doesn't help their case. They're holding on to them. I'm sure they would love if Notre Dame could win out. That bode extremely well for Cincinnati, but I don't think they will. And so that with that being their signature win, so maybe a 3 or 4 loss team, that it just, I don't see how they have a case.
That is a great point. We'll keep they're rooting for Notre Dame all throughout the year, but then potentially could an 11-1 Notre Dame team be a potential playoff candidate? Maybe not their loss is a head-to-head Cincinnati loss. All those conversations can be had, but no doubt Cincinnati is pulling hard for Notre Dame the rest of the way. You mentioned Notre Dame. They are losing to Navy right now 3-0 with 11:28 to go in the first half. Oklahoma State is in Morgantown, and they're trailing West Virginia early in that ball game. It's 3-0 Mountaineers. They took the opening possession, scored 3. Nobody scored since. 9 minutes to play in the first half. In Fort Worth, Baylor and TCU were tied up. So first game post Gary Patterson after 20 years there in Fort Worth. They fired him midseason, which was such a bizarre decision. It's been a bad year. They're 3-5, 1-4 in the Big 12. But man, to part ways with Gary Patterson midseason, I think caught a lot of people off guard. A 7-7 Baylor and TCU. That game is on Fox. 1 minute to play in the first quarter.
Yeah, that TCU team is. I just didn't think that they would do it at this point. Obviously, Patterson really has changed that program around. No one would expect TCU to be competing in Rose Bowls like they have over the years, and it just be the program that can get maybe a 4-star prospect. But now that thing is kind of taking a turn for the worse, and they felt like they need to move elsewhere and try to change the direction that they're going in. So. I never thought that would happen at this point, though.
Number 13, Auburn at number 14, Texas A&M. Both teams 6-2 on the season, and they're tied at 3. So evenly matched games so far as they've swapped field goals. Auburn with the ball around midfield, looking potentially to take its first lead of the ball game.
Yep. Wait, what game was that?
Auburn and Texas A&M.
Auburn and Texas A&M. Yeah. That's going to be a tough SEC game. I think I talked about it earlier in the week. It's going to be a kind of an old school SEC game where both teams are trying to get their run game established and try to play the best defense that they can and see who comes out at the end. It's going to be a very physical one, and I see this one coming down possibly to the last couple possessions.
BYU, no trouble with Idaho State. It's 28-0 in the second quarter. Wisconsin's up on Rutgers 10-3 with 8 minutes to play before half. Mississippi State and Arkansas, they're underway up there in Fayetteville. It is Arkansas 3-0 with 6:54 to play, as we mentioned, in the first quarter. Florida State trailing NC State. That game's in Tallahassee. It's 7-0 Wolfpack with 6 minutes to play in the first quarter. Finals from the top 25 earlier today. Georgia blasts Missouri 43-6. Ohio State hangs on against Nebraska 26-17. Wake Forest, North Carolina in a thriller. Wake Forest falls from the ranks of the unbeaten UNC with a late field goal and then a kind of a walk-off touchdown run. That's 58-55 ended up the final there, but North Carolina beats Wake Forest, knocking them from the ranks of the unbeaten and likely out of the top 10. Ole Miss beats Liberty 27-14. That was Hugh Freeze's return to Oxford. Illinois goes to Minneapolis and beats 20th-ranked Minnesota 14-6. A nice win for Brett Bielema's squad. Pitt beat Duke 54-29. Tennessee and Kentucky tonight at 6 o'clock. They'll kick it off from Kroger Field. Number 22, Iowa is at Northwestern at 6 p.m. Boise State visits 23rd-ranked Fresno State at 6 p.m. At 6:30, the big one in the Pac-12. 4th-ranked Oregon is at Washington from Husky Stadium. That is the ABC night game. Indiana and Michigan from the Big House at 6:30. And 24th-ranked San Diego State with a little football after dark. They are on the island against Hawaii for a 10 o'clock Central Time kickoff on FS1. There's your scoreboard. Glad you're hanging out with us here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Michigan State did add a field goal. Did they make it? They missed it. Okay. They were attempted a field goal, missed it, so it's 14-7 Purdue on top of Michigan State as Purdue comes up with a hold. That is just – well, how far was the field goal? Do you know the yardage on it? It's okay. All right, so Michigan State missed a short field goal, and Purdue remains up on top 14-7 the game in West Lafayette. We'll keep you posted. All right, it is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. We'll go inside the stadium with WBRZ's Matt Trent at Brian Dennehy Stadium when we come back. It's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram are now open for business and are ready to serve our customers with disaster relief employee pricing off I-10 in LaPlace. If you need sales, service, or fleet, the crews at Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram are going to do right by you.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. Everything keeps changing. I'm sure glad you're here.
There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
If home is where the heart is, a roof is a shield. That's why for over 25 years, South Louisiana always turns to Garcia Roofing and Sheet Metal.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Inside the stadium. Inside the stadium. Presented by GoFlow IV Spa. GoFlow IV Spa, where athletes come to hydrate so they can dominate.
Rolling along here, Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Let's go over to Tuscaloosa. Matt Trent, WBRZ Television. Good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Matt, thanks for the time. How are you?
Good, man. I'm sitting field side right now, just taking in the scenery.
Well, it looks like it's sunny and beautiful there in Tuscaloosa. Set the scene for us.
Yeah, it's not bad. We've got a little bit of late afternoon shadows coming over the field right now. They've got Michigan State and Purdue on the big board right now. Mel Tucker's team is down 14-7 to the Boilermakers, so not a good start all around for anyone with ties to LSU football. I could say that.
What's the scene around Tuscaloosa and around Bama's campus today, considering this is for so long has been the game that's been built up on both these teams' schedules, and it just obviously the mojo isn't there this year, the juice isn't there. What's it been like around campus today?
Well, the mojo might not be there from LSU fans, but walking around Tuscaloosa and having dinner last night and walking around campus today, I mean, Alabama, with the vibe, thinks that LSU is normal LSU, a top 10 ranked team. I mean, last night we tried to get a dinner reservation, and it was an hour minimum everywhere. And I called one of the hostesses at one of the restaurants, and she kind of mockingly said, "Yeah, it's LSU week, so everyone's kind of excited." So they're taking it seriously as if it's another rivalry game. But I mean, like right now outside the stadium, I mean, it is packed to the brim with fans waiting for Alabama to arrive to the stadium. So I mean, they're taking it game day as usual.
All right, checking out the scenery in the stadium right now, I just have one question. Do you smell a little upset in the air?
I smell something, but
Are you talking about Purdue? Are you talking about Purdue,
upset.
Michigan State? Because he's watching that in the stadium right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the upset you're talking about. But I mean, I don't know. I saw a couple of LSU fans last night walking around downtown Tuscaloosa, and it wasn't their chipper selves normally. They were just kind of, walking through like in a daze or whatever. I haven't seen any here yet pregame or around campus, so I can't give you an accurate vibe check.
I was going to ask if you had seen many LSU fans around campus today, if many made the trip.
Yeah, I think they're just kind of drinking by themselves and getting ready for the game in some dark corner of Tuscaloosa, kind of away from everything.
Yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense. Anything that you know, Matt, since you've been there about players that in or out for this ball game? There's been a lot of guys injured. Do we have any update there?
Yeah, I know Bo said on Thursday that Mason Smith had been on crutches, since Tuesday. Just talking to people around the program, I doubt that he's going to play today. It's same old injury list as usual. The secondary, Micah Baskerville is probably expected to play, but, outside of that, it's the same injury list that O gave early in the week.
I'm curious. One other thing with respect to the vibe, like, do you know if any LSU admins made the trip? Like, is there any talk at all about if this goes very badly, maybe just decide not to punt the rest of the season, or they just keep O in place and play out the string?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was told today that some people within the LSU administration had reached out to not Scott Woodward, but those very close to him, to see kind of how the coaching search is going and what the plans are moving forward should today go bad. And to put it nicely, there were some snarky responses. So I don't know if that means that the coaching search is not going as well as it's supposed to be, or like you said, that if this game goes absolutely south in a bad way, that they could make a move mid-season and just go ahead and have somebody on staff take O's place and get him out of there. But I was told LSU administrators have been asking those in the higher-ups how the coaching search was going, and some snarky responses were given. So that is about as PC as I can make it.
Snarky responses from LSU admins?
Yeah, I've heard those within the administration have asked the higher-ups, hey, how's the coaching search going, just so we need to be prepared for
I guess, Matt, I'm sorry to just for clarification, I would assume LSU admins are the higher-ups. So you're saying like LSU, like athletic administrators or school administrators?
I should probably clarify.
Yeah.
Staffers in the athletic department, communications department, have reached out and said, hey, just in case there is a move or just in case something goes down, what's it looking like so we can be prepared?
Yeah.
And they were given very snarky responses.
Okay. All right. Well, the beat goes on, and the beat down probably goes on this evening. But Matt Trent, he'll have all your coverage on WBRZ television. Koppel just made you take one for the team with this one?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's pretty well documented who does all the work at WBRZ. I mean, we know that.
I mean, he got to go out to L.A., and you get to go to Tuscaloosa.
But you know what the crazy part? The crazy part is, Matt, is that all the trips that Koppel takes, he flies. Us low people on the totem pole, we got to drive.
That's what you get when you've been there for like 25 years. All right, Matt Trent from WBRZ. Thanks for the time, man. Enjoy the night.
No problem.
All right, be well. That is Matt Trent from WBRZ inside the stadium. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. He's Jeremy Hill. I'm Matt Moscona. Glad you're with us. 15 minutes from right now, we're going to pass the baton to Hunt Palmer on the LSU Sports Radio Network. He'll take you right up to kickoff, as we are about 2 hours and 15 minutes away from kickoff of LSU and Alabama. Still knotted up at 3, Auburn and Texas A&M there in College Station. And it's 14-7 Purdue on top of Sparty with 7 minutes to play before the half. So Mel Tucker's team having a little bit of trouble getting going here in the early going in that ball game. We'll keep an eye. Notre Dame did add a field goal, so it's tied at 3 right now with Notre Dame and Navy, and Notre Dame does have the football. And Oklahoma State has punched in a touchdown on West Virginia. West Virginia led 3-0 early. Oklahoma State on the board at 7-3. Cowboys with 4 minutes or so to play before half, and they are on the move. So we'll keep you up to date if we see any movement in these games before we tip our cap and bid you adieu. One thing left to do is for us to give you keys to the V. We'll do that as we wrap up Eagle 98.1 Game Day next.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back North Airway off of Airline Highway.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Rafino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Keys to the V.
Presented by Coors Light. Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill.
We'll get the keys to the V here in a second. Bizarre circumstance there in West Lafayette. It looked like Michigan State had downed a punt inside the 2-yard line. So Purdue was going to be backed up. They call an illegal motion penalty against Michigan State, so they had to repunt. They backed them up 5, repunted. It was a weird rugby-style punt that the Purdue returner caught on a dead sprint around the 25-yard line and returned all the way to midfield. So Purdue would have had the ball at their own 2. Instead, now they have the ball near midfield here, leading 14-7, with an opportunity to add to their lead on third-ranked Michigan State. So, and also, meanwhile, Notre Dame is knocking on the door here against Navy, and it looks like actually Kyron Williams did get into the end zone. He did. So it's Notre Dame 10, Navy 3 right now up there in South Bend. All right, keys to the V.
Pray.
What you got?
Genuflect. You know, maybe some superstitious stuff. Maybe wear your lucky wristband. Hope a couple black cats run across the field. Maybe a squirrel or something. That's what we're gonna need. Because I can't really point to anything right now to actually get a victory.
I wrote down Alabama no-shows. That's the key to the V. If Alabama doesn't show up, you can win the game. This does feel kind of like stunningly similar to last year against Florida, where, LSU was a 23-point favorite. Florida won the East. They were, a potential playoff team. LSU was abysmal defensively, and we got to the point just remember how that season went because it started a month later. The season started in October because of COVID, and so you'd gotten into December. By the time we were in that point of the season, I mean, LSU season was lost. They were atrocious defensively. We knew Bo Pelini wasn't going to be back. And there was a very similar feeling here. But the way, I mean, I'll try to give you a legitimate answer. I mean, of course, I don't think LSU can win this game. But the way that they won that game a year ago was they created some incredible opportunities on turnovers. Remember the Jay Ward tipped interception on the sideline? I mean, that kind of stuff. And they made those plays. And then you just had an awesome performance from Max Johnson and Kayshon Boutte and these guys that just blew up offensively. So something you mentioned earlier is that LSU's probably going to sling it around. I think you and Hester mentioned it, that LSU's going to sling it around a little bit today. And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, LSU's not had any success running the football consistently all year. I would say that your advantage, if you have one, is that you have really good receivers. So, man, just rip it around the yard. I mean, it really is your shot if you're going to have a shot to win this game. Hope Bryce Young makes a mistake and you get 4 or 5 turnovers, so you're +4 in the turnover margin. And Max Johnson just goes and plays loose and free and rips it around the yard, and maybe you find a way to give yourself a chance in the fourth quarter to make some plays and win it. But I think we both agree that that's just highly unlikely.
Yeah, that's. Man, it's going on the verge of miracle needing. You almost need a miracle just to even be in this game to me, I think. So your best bet is hopefully the offense just plays like the hair's on fire. You get some matchups that you can abuse. Maybe Brian Thomas gets a matchup or Malik or one of these guys. Maybe they can't guard Jack and he starts eating, and then maybe you can have some success. But just doesn't feel that way going into it.
No, it doesn't. Alabama and LSU, I guess everyone's hope is that next year when these two teams meet in Baton Rouge again with a new regime at LSU, maybe some newfound confidence, maybe LSU playing for something significant, it might feel differently a year from now. But this is an outlier for what this series has been for so long and where it really peaked in 2019. And, last year was just a record-setting loss for LSU when they allowed 55, which was the most points allowed in the series, largest margin of victory, largest home loss in an SEC game for LSU. And then this year I don't know that it's going to be much better. I guess I am a little interested at least to see some of the young guys get out there and run around a little bit, see who makes some plays. If you're looking for individual efforts to keep an eye on tonight, Cade York is certainly one of them because Cade York is very much in the mix for the Groza Award. So you'd love to see Cade continue to have success. And I'll throw out Damone Clark. Damone Clark this week was named a semifinalist for the Butkus Award. And he's got a legitimate shot to be a finalist for that award. I mean, before the bye last week, he was leading college football in tackles. And if he keeps going at that pace for the next 4 games, I mean, he's still leading the country, even though they didn't play last week. His 99 tackles still leads college football. So Damone Clark has a chance, if he hits double-digit tackles over the next 4 weeks. Talking about a guy that's going to approach 100 or exceed 150 tackles in the season. He's got All-America aspirations with that. He's got Butkus Award aspirations. I mean, that's certainly a guy that you'd love to see run around and make some more plays tonight. So that's what I would give you. If you're looking for something to watch tonight in this ballgame, even if it doesn't go your way, keep an eye on Cade York and Damone Clark because individually they could be up for some awards.
Yeah, that's always good, especially for recruiting because that's what we can only look forward to at this point with the Tigers right now. Get a couple national awards and maybe entice some recruits, especially at the linebacker because I know that's going to be a huge position of need. Maybe we can snag some of these guys and recruit them, but I'm excited to watch those guys, man. They've been really playing well, just really great Tigers, just doing everything for LSU the right way, and I'm excited to see those guys really try to have a day today.
Texas A&M missed a field goal, so Auburn and Texas A&M were made tied at 3 with under 2 minutes to play in the first half of that ball game. Purdue did take advantage of the short field. They're up 21-7 on Sparty with 4:52 to go before half. Get nervous over there about Sparty?
It's not looking good, man. It's not looking good, man. That defense, man, they looked bad last week against Michigan. Now they're kind of picking up where they left off, man. But, hey, they're the comeback kids. Let's see how this thing plays out.
Sparty, bro. I mean,
looking good.
They've lived dangerously this year. There's something to be said, absolutely, for finding ways to win games. But there have been times this year where Michigan State has looked suspect. You get credit for being 8-0. You absolutely have made plays and found ways to win games. Look Looking good for Sparty, bro.
Let's see, man. I believe in Mel. Let's get a score
I'm going to get a
before the
text
half.
from you in like an hour. You're going to be like, uh-oh, bro, here comes Sparty.
There we go. We got to score before the half. That's huge.
That's going to do it for us. Musso and Taylor, thanks. We appreciate it. He's Jeremy Hill. I'm Matt Moscona, Hunt Palmer on the LSU Sports Radio Network.